to Josh Adams.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
He's here teaching all his secrets to all these drivers. This is Almeida Racing Academy,
where every champion has a starting line.
The sim racer turned real world superstar, Suelio Almeida.
It's Connor Bell racing in his own backyard for the very first time in the NASCAR Canada Series.
The workshops helped out so much. Something about battling with somebody faster than you, it just pushes you that little bit further, and I was able to just keep developing my skill.
I can kind of commit more with the exit there. That was good. If you do take sim racing seriously, it does impact your racing technique for the rest of your life.
I know how the car is going to perform around these corners because of the model I have in the sim. Just the benefit of sim racing when you go into real life, I don't think people quite realize it yet.
You have infinite track time is the biggest factor. You are able to try so many things, and the physics that are simulated in the sim nowadays, especially iRacing, are so close to real life.
Creating champions.
Suelio Almeida is a master at his craft. He's outclassed a Le Mans driver, a European Le Mans Series racer.
These guys are among the top 0.02% in the world.
Designed to create champions.
First NASCAR Canada start. First NASCAR victory for Connor Bell.
Connor Bell standing on the podium here today.
This is the Almeida Racing Academy 3.0.
Wait a race, buddy, wait a race.
Tonight, it's a return to the road courses here on V-Speed as we continue on with our coverage throughout the campaign of the Sports Car Endurance League. Tonight, it's a trip over to Sebring, Florida, to Sebring itself for tonight's action brought to you by SimRacingNation.com. It's going to be an exciting one tonight as we're in round number 5 of this campaign. The championship continues on here. I'm Justin Prince. Alongside the booth tonight is Morgan Cook, who's also a producer, using cameras provided by the great Dougie Beer. Tonight, we're at the great Sebring International Raceway, the former airfield, ready to host the racing tonight as we look to see how the drivers fare out here in Florida.
Incredibly difficult racetrack here. Very, very bumpy. These GT4s, GR86s, and BMW M2s are absolutely going to be struggling for grip all over the racetrack as it is very, very rough.
Remember, respect the bumps when it comes to Sebring after all. This track is very tricky when it comes to grip levels, especially in iRacing, especially the concrete portions. Remember though, we're coming up towards the home stretch, Morgan, because you have Long Beach and Road Atlanta after this week. But the point's going to be an interesting thing to watch for as we make our way on that second half of the list.
And let's have a recap of last week. At Road America, SRN Esports Gold set the fast lap. In the GT4s, the M2s was huge ass, and the GR86s had a racing 4-3-1, and you can see the podium finishers on the left side of your screen.
Dunk indeed came away with the top spot in GT4 Pro of note. Big Crumble took the M side. Hugh Johnson again the 2s. GR86s had a really topsy-turvy race with Caboose Crew. Not being the Caboose last time out, taking away the top spot amongst some of those podiums. And it set things up for an intriguing stretch in the final few rounds here, Morgan, because a lot of your contenders had remained constant race to race. But after the last round last month, we see things take some changes here. You have Texas Speed, for example, their blue car. Very thin margins after last week. The Thunk Esports machine, the Bud entry, is within 3 points for that points lead alone.
That's tight going into the home stretch, absolutely. And we saw a incredible finish last time around that saw Thunk get that win because of a fuel mileage gamble that did not pay off for another team. So if you haven't already, go back and check that out. But wait until after the show. Here tonight, E-Brake Boys and Weenie Hut Racing by Late Apex Club. They're close, although they are starting to fall back a little bit. The one I'm watching is SRN Esports Gold. Remember, they decided to change manufacturers to start last week's race, meaning they got a 50-point penalty, reset them to 0. Now they have to claw all the way back from 14th down 64 over the next couple weeks. It's mathematically possible, but will be mathematically very difficult to get to the top of the sheet. The other point standings as well.
They would be top 3 in the points if they scored the same amount of points they had last time out, was about to say. Big Promble, 52 points in the standings, by the way, to eclipse Racing Esports Solar's 46. Breakfast Club and Rockefeller also close with the Boost Project, also in the conversation. You also throw things to the other standings. You take a look, for example, here you have the Ron Stuff leading their respective group right now. Sunday GT Turtles lost a lot of ground, but they are having a fight with Smooth Operators after last time out. And don't forget, GR86 took a twist after Steady State dominated the first 4 races of the season. Caboose Crew gained a lot of points. That's seen them project themselves up to second in the standings entering today's race from Florida. The qualifying has just concluded here tonight, and that means one thing: a fierce, hungry pack of race cars ready to go. Tower Augustino will start on the pole tonight. That machine is a Thunk Esports Motorsports Sim Sports Racing powered by Bud Car. WIP Racing's Francois Schink start in second. Texas Sim Racing Blue with McConnell behind the wheel. Then Connor Satellia will start in fourth for Ball Crushing Industries. B4D Pink starts off with the top 5. You also have Preston Lee in the SRN Esports Gold car amongst your top 6. Then you start off with some of the M drivers like Big Brombo, who will start 7th, with Stephen Kelly driving with Beaver Moose alongside. Alpha Trout Challenge starts off with the 9th spot with Zachary Bowman, and Mark Darnell will start in the 10th. Of note, for the rest of the class, you also have Ron Wolf in 11th, with Adam Ballard in 12th spot. That's for Thunk and Rockefeller, respectively. Eclipse Racing Esports Solars, 13th today, behind the wheel. Then Blake, for sure, will start in the Breakfast Club Racing Machine in 14th. One other car in the group, Morgan, for that class. That will be Gear 5, 15th. That transition us to our next pack.
Absolutely. The wrong stuff is going to start on the pole of the BMW M2 class with Michael Brooks behind the wheel. Hugh Jass will start second in that group. Croc will be the last car in the podium at the start of this one. LaPitte Racing Club Black in the 4th spot. That, of course, with Blake Phillips. North Sports Racing in 5th. Sunday GT Turtles, Jason Landry will start in the 6th spot. Smooth Operators and James Cochran in 7th. Escuderia Los Locos in 8th. 9th for Rockefeller Racing Green. 10th for Virginia Ridge Runner Racing. And then that will put us back to the GR86s.
Only one other car in that class, by the way, middle of the pack Racing Endurance. Then the Toyota GR86s are also mixed in. You see 26 overall amongst the qualifying spots on your screens, but gridded around 29th actually is Razor Racing. Caboose Crew also in the pack. Ballymore Racing did not hit the grid, though. They're set to be next to part of that. That puts Hale Satin up a spot as a result. The other drivers you see mixed in, Royalty Racing had a car that did not put up a time. V8 Vengeance didn't hit the grid. SCEL T-Gum also towards the bottom of those orders here. Some of the cars mixed up class to class as a result of them not putting in times or some of the drivers not being in session for your start. But tonight, let's talk about the race analysis when it comes this evening. Remember, as usual, 2 hours and 40 minutes the distance, Morgan, but the competition caution will be at minute 52 tonight for these competitors with their fixed setups.
And we've seen that competition yellow absolutely wreak havoc on fuel strategies all season long. It always seems to come down to few mileage race, just like it did a month ago, where it was, what was the margin of victory? Like 0.02 of a second, something wild like that. It was about a fender that Thonk was able to steal that win away over, I forget who finished second in that one, but fuel mileage will be important. And that competition yellow is absolutely going to be a one to watch.
Tonight also going to have a big play for the point standings, because if you read through that list, you may have noticed tonight, Morgan, some of the GRA6 contenders for the championship are not here tonight.
That's right.
In particular.
Yeah, no steady state tonight.
No steady state. A couple cars, actually, you can throw into the mix that did not appear for that class. Peta Racing not here tonight, for example. Team BRZ not here tonight. They're 4th in the standings. It's a big night for points if you're amongst those looking to fight for the top 5s, but this is going to be huge for that championship's sake. But tonight, to get to the meat and potatoes of the race itself, what are your keys to a good night when it comes to a place where we know it can be treacherous and a place where, on the weather forecast, we may see a rain spike?
Well, if it rains here, I mean, it is just survive. This racetrack, it's bumpy. We've talked about it already. It's very easy to catch lap traffic in a bad spot just with how narrow the groove is at times at this facility. So you just have to be really, really patient here, more so than probably anywhere else we've gone. It's so easy to overstep the car, wiggle in the braking zone, miss a braking zone. You have to be just incredibly careful around this facility.
So the field will now get itself situated for the most part. Remember, one of the talking points coming into tonight was how big the class gaps would be. Pretty significant gaps you can see, built up at least 6-7 full pace seconds between the M2s and your GTs up the road. But we're happy with us here on V-Speed for tonight's coverage of the SCEL. So we're all set to go racing from the Sunshine State. Florida ready to host some racing like in real life over the course this weekend. The virtual component is ready to roar. Safety car dodges its way down to pit road. Green flag is up from the stand. To the loud pedal we go. We're underway from Sebring. Good start from the 88 on the outside. The Ford tries to make it stick, but the Mercedes-AMG of Agostino tries to keep it. We have some spinners. Some trouble into the grass goes one competitor. That's Ball Crushing Industries. Their hopes of having good track position are crushed. All while a second car, Weenie Hut, is spun around.
So far, so good for the M2s as we get into the first high braking zone of the race. Caboose Crew just now getting there with their 4-car little group here. That should be a class where it's pretty easy to keep tabs on your competitors here tonight.
Yeah, already those M2s getting a little bit darty when it comes to the Pit Club, trying to battle with smooth operators, a part of those different groups going on. GR86s, we can tell you, are keeping smooth, while up front, a little bit aggressive, to say the very least, for these drivers in the GT4s. The SRN entries, trying to go door to door with a little bit of sins going alongside Texas Speed Sim Racing Blue.
Remember, that's SRN Esports Gold, and they have to make up ground in the points starting now. They don't have any time left to be able to let drivers get more points than them, considering the manufacturer switch. So they're going to have to work very hard. They're currently 4th. Keep working hard to get those spots.
But look at how the top two, the first lap alone, have checked out by good already, near 2 seconds. Great start for the 88. You could argue their best opening lap of the season, to say the very least. Now for Schink, it's going to be the interesting thing. With the BOP, with a balance of the car, be good around a track like Sebring, you think, for the Ford?
And usually the Ford's a high horsepower car. There are definitely some long straightaways here, some fast sections of the racetrack, but a lot of this track is technical and difficult to drive, so I don't know how well the Ford's going to be, but so far so good for the 88.
Well, good start so far for them, by the way, as the rest of the drivers sort themselves out in this group. Some of the others, like Alpha Trout Challenge, trying to find a way to challenge its competitors, not able to get alongside the BMW quite yet. The big thing about how things started for the AM class, though, keep in mind, is how busy things got in those GT4s. We'll touch upon in a moment, because look at the smooth operators amongst those, keeping smooth, picking up spot after spot already in the M2.
My favorite part about turn 1 here is the ability to cross over. Smooth operators take the lead into the entry. Le Pit Club takes the spot back on the exit. And just like that, all that work you did off Sunset Bend is for naught, because you're back behind the car you just tried to pass.
Look at some of the recovery already we're seeing.
Contact.
Yeah, getting the elbows out into the grass yet again. That 12 machine has definitely been putting together a highlight reel of how to drive to the grass without spinning so far. Second time that's happened tonight already for the 12.
You can already see how narrow this racetrack is. Difficult to go too wide through this section. Eventually, we're going to have cars from all sorts of classes smashed together around this facility. It's going to be very difficult for them to make lap time without going off, just like we've seen Ball Crusher Industries go off a few times already.
Yeah, I was about to say, in the midst of all of this, by the way, already a change for the GT4M lead. That only took a matter of a couple moments, because Eclipse, they were separated by 4 or 5 cars to start things off tonight to Big Crumble. That's how wild the start was. That slowed up the 191, believe, because now that 135 for Eclipse, already able to rise to the occasion, take over the class lead for the M side at least. Now we're looking to keep up with the big players in the pro side.
Yeah, Big Crumble right behind them. Still applying that pressure. It's not very much separating them at all, only a couple car lengths.
This is a decent distance to at least keep a reach, because as we see over the course of a race like this, at a track like Sebring, mistakes are a way to close it up, like that there. Eclipse cut through the grass through turn 3. Kelly pressurized them off the line again, and now we'll take the opportunity to set things up heading towards Big Bend. Nothing doing, though.
Oh, just about had an opportunity there. Thonk right on the tail of the 191. trying to make it difficult. You can see just that one mistake from the 135 caused about a second, 2 seconds of separation from Alpha Trout Challenge. That's how easy it is to lose time here. Just with a simple miscalculation of where to put that car, you can lose multiple seconds.
Exactly. It's so critical to get the execution right. Big Prombo, Munstall's trying to execute. Same could be said for some of these M2s. Big gap amongst some of your contenders have already built up because the Ron Stuff and Hugh Jess have built up a battle away from these cars you see here. That gap already more than 4 seconds with North Stars trying to lead third. Here's the look of the leaders.
These two in their own little world right now, as you said, 4 and a bit seconds ahead of North Sports and about 15 seconds behind Gear 5, of course the last car running in the GT4 class, who hasn't pit, I should say Breakfast is currently down in 16th in that class, but a ways off pace.
And of note, the 133 didn't get rolling tonight. Austin Hennigar, give thoughts on him. Hopefully we'll feel better soon. Had issues being able to see the track straight before tonight's qualifying and ended up having to go to sleep due to an illness going on. Unfortunately for the 133 camp, that means no V8 vengeance at the start of this race. Meanwhile, clap the wall goes Eclipse. Went way up on the outside. As a matter of fact, though, look at Ron Wolf trying to break up the AM drivers.
He's going to get to the inside, get that preferred line through the corner. All the way up this little straightaway with the kink. Does clear. Moves Thonk by Beer up a spot.
And unfortunate for Big Prombo because now they have to work to find a way back forward. Have a chance back at Eclipse later on in the midst of this fight. Keep in mind, by the way, up at the front, you may notice that interval for the top two is kind of evaporated. That's because Preston Lee was the one who took the gap, shedded the entire gap down, and is already in the bumper for second.
Yeah, this SRN Esports Gold car is bad fast right now. Fastest lap of the day by about 0.4 of a second over anyone else. That's Texas Speed behind him as the second fastest lap, and they are very quickly closing in WIP Racing and Thonk by Bud.
So where do you set this up if you're Preston to get yourself by? Because it's pretty clear that Preston feels confident on the speed. He was a quicker by 9/10 last time by, for example. Where do you make this move?
I think you set it up right here, down this long straightaway. And then if you're able to use the draft to your advantage, as I believe he will be, you make sure that you're in position out of Sunset Bend, make the pass into turn 1, 2, 3 into that complex, and you'll probably be able to drive away if you're able to make that move successfully. He's already right to the back bumper. He's going to go for the pass here. Looks like Thonk's just going to give it to him. For the moment anyway, now he's have to defend hard down the straightaway. Should be able to have that spot after turn 1.
May as well let him go in that circumstance. Give him the space, let him go. Knows he's faster right now. Be able to pull him in. Might be interesting on fuel mileage. Speaking of drivers trying to fight, Zachary Bowman still trying to sling to the outside in the Porsche. Looking to try and clear Beaver Moose. Well, this
something spun. That's Texas Speed.
Yes, and that is huge for the standings here because that is another week where the one car is going to have to try and claw their way through traffic.
Another look at that one. It's kind of hemorrhaging spots already. Right in front of Big Promble.
I've been in the opening corners, can confirm. I think the reason is take a look on John Lauzon in through turn 1 originally, Morgan, before the side-by-side. Can't confirm the 77 was the one who got him in that circumstance.
Gotcha.
And that's going to be a lot of time lost as a result here, you have to think, because remember, they last last time out over at Road America, kind of had to claw back a fair bit of distance too when it came to being able to be back in the conversation before the wildness of the fuel strategy, where it became a drag race with them on fumes coming across the line.
Battle here for third. Sunday GT Turtles trying to get around North Sports Racing. So they will complete that pass for the moment, although fight back. Deep dive into the inside, crossover on the way. Ooh, these cars, they are getting after it so early in this one.
Yeah, they are not thinking about the leaders right now. Obviously, with the competition caution at one point, have the chance to bunch right back up, and all these drivers are kind of saying, you know what? Where's that bell? We're going to put that away right now. We're going to just keep fighting and fighting. Here's Jason Landry trying to go fighting to the outside for good measure. Le Mans, such a tough part of the track to set up that rhythm for the Golden Straight.
You saw the GT Turtles car put a lot of car outside that white line, that curbing. You get a lot of speed there if you set it up properly. You can see all the way down the straightaway. He's going to have that little bit of an advantage. It's a heads-up drag race right now, but preferred groove. Definitely the inside here.
Oh, Landry faded up a little bit. Forced Maxwell wait to lift off the throttle. Oh, wow. Blake Phillips nearly got himself hit for good measure as the Croc machine nearly slaps the wall down. Funnily enough, I know the Croc promotion side on the karting side, Morgan, going to be very busy pretty soon as Landry covers off this group. Of course, some of those drivers from the Croc promotion side believe going to get ready for karting just tomorrow, in fact, over at Charlotte. So some of the competitors from their real-world counterparts ready to go racing in CKNA tomorrow.
Wonder what it's like to be a professional karter. I feel like that'd just be a lot of fun, you know? But
well, it's not just about driving the track, right? If you're in the kart world, it's also, in a lot of cases, you're trying to coach the next generation,
right,
and or being a mechanic for the karts.
Right. Yeah, I've seen a lot of great drivers come from the karting ranks. Oh, there's a bit of an overshoot of that corner by North Sports. Allmendinger and Verstappen, and many, many, many others coming from the karting ranks and excelling in bigger cars and four-wheel machines around the world. So definitely karting is very important for next generation of drivers, mechanics, and everything that you just mentioned there, engineers, as SRN Esports Gold takes the point away from WIP Racing.
Able to come away with a race lead, and that showcases Preston Lee's speed. We've seen this before from Preston. He's been able to charge up to this pack so far, and now, question is, can his BMW build up a distance here? Just has to keep it on the racetrack for one. Nearly cut into the grass, but second, we know that gold car has pace, and Lee is showcasing why he is a gold standard driver.
Sure, this is the first time I believe they've had Lee open the race. Typically it's Kyle Bassett who qualifies the car and starts the race. This time Lee takes the driver's seat to kick this thing off. Wonder if that will have an impact on the end of the race, when I imagine they'll put Bassett in to end this thing out.
Yeah, kind of wanting to start things off with a statement, I think, is the way you think about it when it comes to this approach. And right now, they've done that, being able to get themselves right into a perfect spot. Already half a second quicker last time through on WIP Racing as they look to try and set sail. By the way, if these drivers start slowing down a bit, Lauzon has ran away from the rest of the field in his own sake too, Morgan. You see him in the background there. Right now, that gap is 3 seconds to the next car after the 77 also.
Yeah, there is definitely the creep starting to rise to the top here in terms of lap times, as you mentioned. I think we've seen a bit of a change in the track as well. It's now overcast. Sun isn't really out, and we're talking about this before the show went live. Rain in the area. It's in the forecast. Might be getting close to potentially seeing rain. Maybe you can keep us updated on that, JP.
Yes, right now that rain condition Currently, it's projected to be an interesting situation because on the radar, at the moment, it is just one blue strip. From 2:30, maybe for 15 minutes, it's expected to rain as much as 57% chance at the moment. And it really depends on how connected the weather pattern actually is when it reaches the racetrack. What I'm trying to say is, we're on the midway to later third of this race. Small splash of rain, but the radar says it is not likely to probably draw everyone down for rain tires for only 15 minutes.
And we saw that be a problem last month when we had rain to start the race. It was already raining before we even took the green. Some drivers elected to take rain tires to start off, and it was not the right call. The rain never was heavy enough to actually need the wet tires. Everyone who took those wet tires put themselves in a big hole to start that race. Most of them didn't recover.
Yeah, it's been a big theme if you followed along with Sebring here on V-Speed in the past few weeks. Seen that with some of our other sim coverage too. If it gets too wet here, there's a lot of areas that the rain could pool up. Not expecting that today, but especially the concrete areas, it could be tricky once that weather pattern hits in a little while. If it hits is the bigger way to phrase that, as the patterns change. As you still see traffic jams for Texas Speed. Once those charging up, right to the back end of Eclipse here on the recovery. That is for currently 8th overall on the track.
Yeah, Eclipse Solar all the way back to Royalty Racing. Really kind of in this knot of cars. Rockefeller, I guess Purple, the last driver in this group, as Royalty's a little ways behind, but they're having trouble getting around Eclipse at the moment. And all these drivers hemorrhaging time.
Yeah, it's almost like a cork in the bottle a little bit, but it's almost a needed facet if you are in the AMP battle, because if you just lay and let cars go, Stephen Kelly will just take it away. There goes McConnell to take over what is 8th overall on the racetrack. Next pack for him would be Thunks, Ron Wolf, who's in our 2 seconds up, able to finish up the job up through the corner. So as they all solidify here for the most part. By the way, we do have, of course, GR86s. Don't forget about those tonight, Morgan, in this circumstance, because they're all connected for the most part within about a second or so. And Caboose Crew, at the moment, is the one holding on to the race lead.
I think the key for this class is going to be how long can you stay in touch with the leader. Currently, there are 3 drivers that are in this main pack. SCEL TGOM 1 has fallen back a ways. Good 15 seconds off the pace. Baltimore Racing another 10 seconds back of them. So it's really right now just between these top 3. Caboose Crew SCEL, Hale Satin, and Razor Racing. And I think if you can stay tight enough with these cars, considering how much the draft plays a factor, you have a shot at it.
It's a good opportunity with this type of race car, absolutely. Seen people be able to break the draft, though, for the counterpoint in real life. But, of course, we see with the M2s, no breakaway chances have popped up here. Giovanni Romano has kept the pressure up on Michael Brooks all race so far. And you can tell that blue and yellow machine, we've seen and heard from him previously. Once was looking to have some fun with this series. Already seen the Thunk machines that have a connection to the HJ organization. And right now we're seeing the full-blown HJ machines really contend here with their top driver lineup.
We saw them, I believe, get the win last time out. Trying to go back-to-back. So far, so good. Running P2 at the moment. Great battle, keeping the pressure on. I want to go back to SRN Esports Gold for a second. We got some information in chat from the Kyle Bassett. Preston Lee will run the entire race today. Kyle not available to race tonight in a different league's event tomorrow. So we'll see no driver swap for SRN Esports Gold tonight.
I believe it's the Majors Endurance Championship.
You're right about that.
To. Yes. And that's the tough thing. Because remember, there was an error point brought up by a couple drivers over the past few weeks or so. The finale of this season goes right in the middle of your prep window if you're running the Nürburgring 24 on top of it. So it becomes the decision on how you spend the team resources for the finale, too, for the iRacing special event.
Because a lot of these drivers and teams are splitting drivers between this series for development and those iRacing special events for the glory, so to speak. So having to balance that is absolutely a priority for all these teams.
Right now, we are only a few minutes in, 20+ minutes through the racing action for those tuning in here on V-Speed, SCEL, here with Sim Racing Nation as the sanctioning body for this series. Still early on in the action as we check in with a couple of cars across the circuit. You see, for example, Beaver Moose. Solid campaign so far, Morgan. Having a solid start to this night at the very least. Keeping themselves in the conversation with Alpha Trail for the top 5.
I think this is the most under-the-radar car of the entire season. Really haven't talked about Beaver Moose very much in a positive or negative way. They really have just kind of shown up, brought their lunch pail, done their work, and ended up with fairly solid finishes as a result, as Croc, I believe, just had a bit of a moment here. There's a good example for Beaver Moose right there. Going to cut to a car already around. Oh, caught the grass under braking.
That's definitely not something they want to do, as that's in the wrong spot on top of it. Bit of contact, maybe it popped up there with some of the traffic. But I think everything survived for the most part there. That could have been a lot worse with the timing of that for Damon Mitchell in that circumstance. Did cost a lot of ground, I think, for smooth operators, was that car on the Dodge.
Yeah, they are now 8th in class. Had to hit the brakes to avoid that. Caught a little bit of contact in the left rear, but I don't believe it was even enough to scuff the paint on that red, white, and black car.
Some of the drivers even involved in the organizations in these battles here, mind you, have set themselves an M2. It's been pretty wild so far. The battle for the lead. You also have some of the battles going on with GT4 still up through the corner. So a little bit of scrapey scrape with some side-by-side Eclipse and Rockefeller. This is your top spot for the AM that you just seen previous as the M2s work through Sunset. Everything's going to get bundled up, you have to think, for a couple of these classes of note, because things are getting tricky with the traffic management coming up.
Yeah, these two on an island right now, but those GT4s starting to work through the slower traffic. So these cars pitch it off into turn number 1. The gap slowly increases and then decreases on the exit. And much better through turn 1 was HJ.
Nothing doing there, but look at this. Ballard still side by side. He's been side by side for 2 to 3 quarters. And now gets turned. Brennan Melling making contact. There goes Stephen Kelly up to the class lead. That also brings Royalty Racing's Justin Kidd the second.
That's going to make for some unhappy drivers here for a few laps, trying to get that car back under them for Eclipse.
Yeah, I had a feeling with side-by-side brewing the way it was up through Tower onward, it was not going to be pretty. And now, see how much Eclipse, after all that fighting, has now slipped back. Short run early. Now we'll look to try and stop the bleeding and try and keep up with the rest of the leaders here as they work their way around GR86s.
That's second in the GR86 class. They're working around. You see the leader in that Volt car all the way to the left of your screen. Texas Speed Sim, I believe, on pit road. Yes, they are. Scheduled stop, I think.
That's a little early, isn't it? 11 laps in?
I mean, maybe they're trying to make it to that that competition caution and then fuel up there. It's hard to say. As for the lead overall, SRN Esports Gold falls back. WIP Racing up to the point again. Remember, they led this race early.
That just took place out of turn 1. The reason being that that pass happened, SRN nearly ran wide into 1 for another time. So the battle is on between Ford and BMW. These three have been reeled in a little bit, by the way, for comparison by the 77 by 2 seconds since they started fighting. So if they start breaking down, this entire top 3 is slowly letting everybody else back into the picture. It really depends how hard they want to fight in about the mid portions of the fuel run estimate.
Top 2 in the M2 still have not gotten away from each other.
I mean, for Michael Brooks, it's been a good season, though, for him and for that entire team. All campaign, the wrong stuff has been one of the keys of consistency for this championship. There's a reason they've scored so many points, but 90 coming into this weekend. For Michael Brooks, though, it's about trying to make sure you get enough of a distance built up for those final 2 races, so leave some buffer in case something happens for said finale, so you can secure a championship.
And the nice thing is the car right behind them, they're not necessarily running for points because they started so late in the season. So you don't really have to worry about them points racing wise. It might get weird if they win the next 3 races. That could make it difficult, but you really only have to worry about the other drivers who started all the races. And as long as you just continue to go out there and execute your race and, you know, race the racetrack, don't make any mistakes, don't compound mistakes if you do make them, it's really you're in the driver's seat the rest of the way to win the championship.
We've just had a pit stop, by the way, for Eclipse, we can tell you, because pretty certain they crushed in the front nose. They rammed to the back of Rock FL Racing Purple midway through the lap. So they've had to come down here off cycle. We'll see what they elect to do. You see that nose crushed in as we look to try and go as far back as we can here. For reference, it would have been around 10 or 13.
Yeah, still crushed there. Yeah, I think we're a little too far away to find that. Yeah, you can see it's definitely crushed, but it's all fixed now.
2 fast repairs, as we said in the preview coming into tonight with the analysis. One of them definitely having to be used there, but that's a 27-second pit stop. Gets them off sequence here in the early portions of the night when it comes to the fuel strategy, with another stop likely with the comp yellow.
And we're only about 20 minutes away from hitting that comp yellow.
And it's a Pandora's box of strategy potentially, because it really depends. Remember, in this class and in this entire field, all the classes have restricted fuel loads, right? So you have that adapted window compared to if it was a full distance where it'd be on the hour normally. It's a lot more compressed to a 60%, so you go more 40, 45 minutes-ish. That timing of that comp yellow is a little bit of a tricky spot for some, potentially.
Yeah, the question is, can you stretch it all the way to that comp yellow, or do you have to kind of split it in the middle and pit here on the short side? And maybe that's why we saw, you know, Texas Speed, Break Fast, Eclipse Solar, and Gear 5 make those stops so early, is to be able to try and, you know, split it part way, maybe make it all the way to that break. And I don't mind if you're gonna have an issue like that where you get damage to the nose, pitting early, staying on the lead lap, and just basically riding it out until you get to that competition yellow, because now you're back with the big group. Even though trap system is not going to be great, it's still not going to be as bad as if it were to have happened after the competition yellow.
By the way, as things continue on, the 88 continues to have its best race of the season so far. She's still running the table and pace. They're running some of their fastest laps of the race, by the way. And that's an interesting thing, possibly, with the cloud cover, is the impact on the track. It's about 82 degrees Fahrenheit track temperature right now, Morgan. So at this point, as the sun, just as I bring up the cloud point, comes back out here, what's that conversation going to be like when it comes to these conditions? Not about the rain, but I mean about the ability to manage the temps here.
Well, it's really all going to be driver-based. These fixed setups, you can't change anything, especially since we started the session already. You can't really change much at all. So it's really just understand where you have the grip, where the track might be hot, and just try and maximize the grip and minimize the grip loss. I mean, it sounds easy when I say it, but of course a lot easier said than done. And if it rains, a hot racetrack is going to make it so that the rain doesn't stick around on the racetrack all that much, or a cool track, obviously, that rain is going to have a harder time evaporating.
A bit of an off track there for Lee for good measure. Going to pick up an incident point there. Remember, 24 is the limit before you start getting penalties, as looks like the window's starting to open up for a few more. Weenie Hut goes 14 for their first cycle. Remember, Mark Darnell was spun around early on in this one. As here's a look at the M2s, a little bit of battling going on yet again. Scaria Los Locos going to the outside, trying to get around middle of the pack racing endurance.
That was quite a move. On an oval, we'd call that an elevator from the top to the bottom. The fact, in this case, the left to the right and back again. That was quite the attempt to make a pass, but alas, not quite enough to get around middle of the pack.
Yeah, a little bit of swooping, to say the very least. And it's almost looking like a bit of an accordion together where no one's been able to really get a full opportunity. Small mistakes here and there, but nothing to open the door. That time the door does open because North Sports kept the angle wide. Still works to get a better run than everyone in the lead pack.
That was an aggressive move. Oh, blocking. Door banging down the straightaway. They're not happy at all.
Bit of a slam as Los Locos try to get the run. Patrick Mason hugging the inside groove. Has the better distance in the corner. Looks like we'll clear. Yes, indeed. Patrick Mason slams the door right in the face of the green machine. Now Justin Brigand trying to go hard to the inside. Some contact to the wall as well for the M2s.
Gonna push him through the corner. Oh, he's gonna hit him in the door. Here comes Smooth Operators. Might be able to clear both of them.
Smooth Operator saying, if you guys are going to fight this hard, I'm just going to keep on battling. That car that spun in the background, by the way, you referred to, was the Rockefeller Racing green car in the 237. They're stuck at the pit entry.
Yeah, we saw this happen. There we go, a little further back. And just contact from behind.
That's the Croc car that made the contact. Almost looked like they had a bit of overlap trying to blend to the outside, Morgan.
Yeah, so easy to do here.
And as a result, into pit road, they have gone. First of the M2s, unscheduled, obviously, as a result of that chaos there. Right now, you see how things fare out for drivers like Justin McGann, trying to dig hard in the corner, just bit him. Lost a lot of ground because he missed the braking mark.
Yeah, I almost think that if this 271 has another driver or spotter or crew chief or strategist or anyone else on the team, that they really have got to be telling the driver, hey, back it up, slow it down a little bit. We're not that far from the competition yellow. Well, you're starting to lose time because you're pushing just way too hard right now. And as you know, JP, the harder you push in really any race car, typically the worse things get for you. There's a fine line, and he is way over it right now.
Yeah, I was about to say, right now in this spot, a lot to think about. And by the way, that 271, no second driver currently in the session. A lot of teams are in that same boat here. We already mentioned Preston Lee already a solo act tonight. at the very least, it's going to be a bit of a tired night for a couple of the competitors running the full distance. Speaking of drivers trying to make sure they don't crush their equipment, it is the Ball Crushing Industries car. You see the peak. They've got a lot to think about because the leader's a pit.
The 88 and 77 both on pit lane.
So they went 16 laps. That's going to be important to note for later on, Morgan. And that's that awkwardness we talked about potentially. But the time of the competition caution might be in the middle of the second stint here for those that go the full distance on these tanks to start off the race.
What I like about where this competition caution falls is if you've lost track position, it's almost just worth the gamble of staying out and short pitting later, because at least then you get the benefit of not having to race around in traffic. You're able to kind of go out and rabbit your way and get a bit of a gap, and those few seconds that you gain over your competition might be the difference between you potentially winning the race and finishing second or third. So it's always interesting to see how it all shakes out after that competition yellow.
And all that timing definitely explains, if you go to the one car, their play. Remember, with their pit call 5 laps ago, right now McConnell still behind the wheel. In theory, they take the short stop in what would have been the middle of the second stint at the start of the race for the first stop.
Right.
Gets them a bit off cycle. But now it becomes the question how this is going to shake up for them.
I mean, you have to, I imagine you have to pit at the competition yellow for this team. But then after that, it's just a heads-up race, right? The strategy becomes very easy. It's just pit whenever you need fuel and go to the end. There's no awkward, as you mentioned, 10-lap run, 8-lap run you have to make. It's you've made your bed now. You pretty much got what you got.
So a lot in terms of that strategy play to think about here as the GR86 train continues to stay wrapped well together.
They had separated. They're all back together again. Top 3.
Yeah, a little bit of a separation, but it wasn't out of the draft range separation. They've all stayed well connected here within at least a second or so. Now, of course, remember, a lot of these drivers are also going to have a busy next week of learning what's new on the service. After all, it's build week next week.
It's like Christmas. Just, you never know what you're going to get. Well, you do, sort of, because they have release notes. But sometimes they have some unexpected things in those release notes that you just weren't quite prepared for, and all the shiny new toys, and week 13 shenanigans, and all sorts of fun stuff next week.
Just let me check the release notes early. The answer is no, as the window continues to be wide open for GT4s. More stops, including Big Crumble. So as you've seen, with a 30-plus second pit stop already for the respective service. 37.9 for Beaver Moose. Looks to be full service. 36 for one of the Rockefeller racing cars, the purple entry, part of their stops. But I know there's some stuff they've alluded to in terms of the articles coming in, including new rain tires on the roadside for GTEs. Looks like there's been troubles, and this is a big O, a couple of O's.
I don't know. Something must have happened to SRN or to the Smooth Operators car, because they just stopped driving in the middle of the racetrack. That's odd.
That was a lot of chaos, a lot of quickly there. Yeah, I'm gonna have to see what happened there, because they're all bundled up for the battle of Los Locos. They're going around and let's see this. Yeah, Los Locos got loose themselves. I don't know if Smooth Operators might have gone out of the gear.
Yeah, I don't. That's an odd one. I haven't seen that before. It's like that car just died straight away.
I think if I seen the gearing right, I wouldn't be surprised if it hit the chip and instead of the upshift, because they're distracted by the contact.
Possible.
And that's the type of mistake that could shuffle a little bit of the point standings here. It's not been a pretty race for smooth operators here today.
Oh, you're right about that. Definitely has not been.
Look at the drivers on the pylon, though. GT4 leaders, Pro and Am, have all ducked down for the most part. The last of the cars are taking their service right now, including the Thunk by Beer Machine, Thunk by Bud, a lot of the others making their full service. Of note, Preston Lee is the one that's got the lead on track for now, but it's only going to last a few seconds. So keep an eye on smooth operators. That few seconds may be a little bit longer because we can confirm the 88 did cycle just on the bumper of SRN with the pit road. This is how long it lasts, though. That's about 25 seconds instead of 5.
Ooh, aggressive clear. 88's feeling it today.
Oh, he's blocking. Shane Cabin, his best race of the season. Lee looking inside. Nearly got to the bumper. Has to lift off, obviously, but look who's in third. It is not one of the drivers we've seen like Agostino, who lost a fair bit of time at the pit window with a 1 minute long pit delta in the lane. It's the 77 Lozon, who has been able to charge up and have the quickest stop out of the top 3 here.
Yeah, 3 seconds faster than your current leader, 2 seconds faster than SRN Esports Gold. You have to wonder if it was less fuel, maybe just more efficient into the box. Out of the box could have been many things that were able to contribute to those couple seconds, but either way, gap on the racetrack shows it. He's there.
First pit window was closed, and we're almost at the comp yellow. A lot of battles still fair enough for the AM side. It's been very busy, to say the very least. And right now, at this point, none of these drivers really giving themselves a chance to breathe here, after all, to be able to think about their various driving partners here.
We're going to have to hold the breath a little bit longer, about 11 minutes or so until we get to that comp yellow. So keep doing what you're doing if you're on the racetrack still, because you're about to get that long break, and that break usually takes about 20 minutes to get that cycled through. So it'll help your fuel mileage and all that fun stuff, but you got to figure out what you're going to do when you get to that point in the comp yellow.
Speaking of partners, it's time to shout out one when it comes to Sports Car Endurance League this season. Almeida Racing Academy, one of the proud presenters when it comes to this season. Want to get actually fast? Celio Almeida is launching the biggest update of his career, the Almeida Racing Academy 3.0. This isn't just theory. Celio is packing everything he's learned from coaching 12,000 students, 3,500 one-on-one sessions, becoming a radical champion, to racing at the top level in IMSA against factory drivers and world champions. His coaching has evolved, and the results are real. Academy students are winning in top-tier esports, taking on real-world trophies like the 24 Hours of Barcelona. The new Almeida Racing Academy 3.0 is a single membership that includes everything. You get all his premium online courses like the Motor Racing Checklist, which is used to cost $200, combined with the Academy League, workshops, group practice sessions, and integrated telemetry tracking. It's all on a brand new platform built from scratch by Celio's team. They've even included a new braking exercise feature where you can practice your precision right from the website. So, good to have them a part of this season once again, as we're at the estimated total about 53 to go for your GT4s. For reference, speaking of trying to test out your braking skills, the AM leaders still all testing themselves. Closest AM lead you could argue on the season, Weenie Hut, trying to move alongside as Eclipse, with all the chaos, is back up in front of that class, mind you.
I think they're showing as well that the Ford, we talked about that earlier, would the Ford be good here with the BOP? And the answer seems to be yes. They're leading top 2 in the AM class. And they're also leading the overall here.
Yeah, and right now, see Mark Darnell at the very least giving some space for them to
135,
work.
way wide.
Lots of space given by Eclipse from the outside. Don't think it's hampering them for the front, though. Big Bravo and Royalty Racing went side by side at that same time, Morgan. They are going pretty fierce here. Mark Darnell still door to door. Something's got to give.
Yeah, Eclipse was able to squeak ahead for just a moment. Weenie Hut now having to defend. Oh, 2 cars. Royalty Racing with some contact from behind from Big Promble. They all slinky apart and slinky back together as they hit down into the heavy braking zone.
All of them still spiraling together. By the way, important to note, the weather system we're talking about, and were at least earlier on, few minutes away, likely to hit during the competition caution period if the map serves correctly. It is 96% chance the weather formation did connect together that had a small gap potentially for the racetrack. And it has a little bit of a more medium rain pattern as a result of the amount of precipitation. This track is going to get pelted by a normal Florida shower for a little bit and then be a dry period.
So what do you think from what the radar says? Should we expect to see rain tires potentially, or just a treacherous, slick racetrack with the slick tires on these cars?
I think the latter one, because here's the thing. It's expected to be completely gone by 3 p.m. in sim. And with the amount of time for the skybox, we're talking maybe just the length of the competition caution is the potential possibility based on the system.
Probably the best time for it to hit for a lot of these competitors who maybe didn't practice in the rain. Oh, we are sliding these cars around these M2s. The wrong stuff all over the racetrack, trying to keep HJ behind them.
Still battling hard to hold on to the spot for the time being. Nothing has changed between these two really for this entire race. And for Romano, it might come down to simple strategy execution to get an advantage here because they seem so on point. Both of them identical in race laps.
Yeah, you have to wonder how, all the practice, all the different track time behind the wheel in these cars or anywhere that they've raced, and you end up racing against somebody for the lead who runs exactly the way you do and exactly the same pace that you do. That's got to be just an interesting feeling as a driver to be like, wow, I am equally matched here, as they're both going to hit pit road right now. I think the competition yellow may be about to come out.
Yeah, we're just about at that mark. We're about 3-ish minutes away, give or take. That might trigger a cavalcade of drivers down pit road. For the most part, some slow ups coming up because they are coming up to more M2s as they work. Some side-by-side pokes popping up here for a split second. Nothing doing. There's the rain. It's time to deal with some wet conditions.
And for now, I think it's just be cautious. It's raining the most down in this part, which is probably the worst place for it to rain, all things considered. One of them anyway. Such a fast section, left to right. Curbs are going to get wet and slippery, but just make sure that you keep it on the racetrack.
Pardon me there, I was about to say, look at the pavement already. Making that adaptive change just with how the weather is starting to touch it. Those wet little blotches popping up here for the rainy conditions that are now going to see the track get pretty difficult to tame and have to transition to a bit of a dry period over the course of the run. There's the pit stops expected here for some of the AM drivers. Some drivers do not come down with them, so we're down to about a couple minutes to go.
And we saw one driver put on wet tires. That's Croc. Damon Mitchell decides it is time for the wet tires. Just now leaving the box. That could prove to be a very interesting decision.
Is that a good call, though, when you expect rain for maybe 30 minutes max?
That is a great question. Rain has never been a strategy strong suit for me. Unless you're racing on the oval side, where it's vast majority, of course, well, it's always dry conditions on the oval side, so never really have to worry about weather. So I definitely not well versed in my rain strategy, when to put those tires on, when not to. I leave that for my road course racing teammates.
And mind you, pit road is closed, so nobody else can make that call now. Only the one car is on rain tires out of the entire field here. This is where the water can really pull up, by the way, over this course of the safety car period. Look at Preston Lee. He's looking to charge. Less than 50 seconds away from the yellow. Here comes Lee to the inside. Nearly onto the side of the apron. Side by side in the Sunset Bend. Lee hugs the inside. He'll take the race lead away as they come up to the final time around before the caution.
Look at the crossover, not quite going to have enough. Wink tried a different line to get the run out of the corner, didn't work. Now into turn one. This is also a treacherous spot with how the curb comes up and you have to use all of it to maintain speed. Easy to slip up here and get in the dirt.
Only 10 seconds until the caution period starts, almost at minute 52. Will there be any last surges? Not enough time. There's the caution. Yellow flag is out. The field frozen. We're under yellow, and we've had a crash at the yellow. The 77's gone around right as they come with the caution, so that's how slick it's getting. Don't think he hit anything, Morgan. That's the bright side.
Yeah, just simply too much speed for the amount of rear grip he had, and around he went. No contact. Just lost maybe the one, possibly two spots here. Looks like maybe 2 spots he'll lose, but all in all, that definitely could have been a lot worse.
Definitely could have, and now comes a big-time gamble for a lot of these drivers on where this strategy now takes them, because they have a long way until they reach the safety car, get around the racetrack, and some of these drivers tiptoeing a little bit, with the rooster tails already kicking up. And this is how quick the weather's expected to hit here, Morgan. We're already at the midway point of the weather system because of the way the skybox is.
So the rain falling rather quickly, but yeah, not for the longest time for sure. I think that's going to make drivers who put on wet tires pretty nervous, and it's not going to get a lot worse than this.
You mean Damon Mitchell?
That's who I'm referring to. Yes, Croc. The M2 is the only driver on the wet tires, and we've seen that all season. Anytime someone puts on wet tires, they typically hemorrhage time because it has yet to be the right call this season to actually put those wet tires on.
I believe that is something now in the sim. There is an option, though, to add multiple widgets. Weather, definitely one of those in terms of talking points. That's going to be something to look back at for that team, possibly, as a result of this weather system.
Safety car is out.
Yes, and we are just about done the rain, because the rain in some parts of the track has stopped falling. So should clear up, and on the bright side for some of the drivers, no major water pooling because the weather only hit for a couple minutes as they catch up to that safety car. So keep in mind, talked about some of the awkwardness here. Texas speed definitely might have to come in here. They're 13 laps into their window. Some of the drivers are at the midway point, just before the midway point. 6 to 8 laps for a majority of your front runners in GT4 for reference. For the M2s, it's a little bit different because most of them were able to pit before the closing of pit road. The GR86s yet to pit at all for their first stop.
Yeah, mixed bag on strategy. Certainly at this one. I do agree, though. Texas Speed Sim Blue, they pretty much have to pit. They're only going to have, once we go back racing, maybe 2 laps. Based on taking that kind of the awkwardness out of the stop by pitting so early in this one. Again, makes the end of the race pretty straightforward. Just pit when you need fuel and run it out to the end, but can't do much in the way of strategy here. You've kind of made your bet.
That's the tough thing about the predictiveness when it comes to how these races go. You never know what's going to happen to get to the races. Safety car working its way through Tower at the moment. We're almost at the 1 hour complete mark in just a few minutes time here. For those just tuned in, we've had a couple different lead contenders. SRN Esports Gold is your top driver when it comes to GT4 Pro, followed by WIP Racing, Texas Speed on a different strategy. Expect to peel down in a moment. Dunk Esports in the top 4 with the 26. Then the 77 of Lauzon is in the top 5. Alpha Trout, then the 12 Ball Crushing Industries in 7th. The Everthon car is in 8th spot overall. Of note, your leader in the MSOT, because of the pit call by Eclipse, is in the lead, but it's an offset of 5 laps over them in Eclipse. Big Prombo, second for now. Royalty Racing, third in AM. For the M2s, Huge Ass, right before that period, did steal away the race lead, interesting enough, on the scoring loops, Morgan. So there was a change right as we were keeping an eye on the leaders for the who had the advantage in the BMW M2.
Yeah, first time all day we've seen someone besides the wrong stuff lead this one. And that is definitely a good way to start the second portion of this race.
Can confirm it was pit stop Delta. Coming off the jacks, that saved Romano a few seconds of time. Remember, pro team when it comes to HJ. So that's broadcasting arm for their own sake. And that allowed them to get the advantage for the first time today. Also up there, North Stars is in the top 3. Took a quick stop though, only 27 seconds. Get advantage over Sunday GT Turtles, middle of the pack, LaPitt, Croc, Virginia. The rest of the top 8 there. Hell Satin does have the lead with this caution period in GR86, by the way. They're still catching up to the leaders. You also have Caboose Crew with them. The only other car that was yet to pit, SCEL Tigum, is right now in 3rd spot. Razor Racing and Ballymore had pit 3 laps ago for their services. So they'll all cycle to catch up to the safety car over this caution period as we get set to see when they open up pit road. A couple drivers are getting waved around the pace car here, Morgan, to make sure they get all situated. Your thoughts on the race so far as a whole?
This, I think, has been the least chaotic race we've seen to this point in the season for the first half of a race. Typically, we're seeing drivers way overshoot corners, you know, make mistakes, take each other out. We've seen a couple cases of contact so far today, but I think that is just kind of part and parcel with this racetrack and drivers having to really understand the racetrack and race the racetrack properly, that you don't really have any time left to race other cars aggressively because you're so focused on not making a mistake around this very difficult course.
But this entire field at this point is looking to pace around over this yellow. See some of those wave arounds squeaking on by. Keep in mind, this track is still a little bit slick. That's why you're seeing some of the wave arounds tiptoe a little bit. It's not just as simple as flatlining and full throttling to get around some of these cars. Little rooster tails popping up at the moment. So, expecting, at least to me, this track is going to be fine by the end of the race. Is this a concern at all that you have the rooster tails pop up with a little bit of misting because of the Florida shower?
I don't think so. I thought it would have been a bigger deal, but considering even just how much in the last 5-10 minutes that it's dissipated the water, and how we have every car on the racetrack running in exactly the same place because of pacing, I believe that the fast line, the racing line, is going to be dry, like completely dry, very quickly. Off track or offline might be a bit of a mission because you're still going to have a little bit of dampness out there, but for the most part, shouldn't be much of an issue. And we still have probably another 15 minutes under the safety car before we're even going to get back racing. So it'll probably be mostly dry all over the racetrack by the time we get back to it.
So the wave rounds continue, by the way, in this circumstance. Right now, who's really impressed you the most with their approach to this race so far tonight, and why?
That is a good question. I would say WIP Racing definitely is up there. They've done just a really nice job at staying up at the front of the field. They led a lot of the race early. It's really been them and SRN Esports Gold that have battled at the top of the sheet for the entire race here. You know, SRN Esports Gold would have to get my silver medal in that category. They gained 5 spots very early in the start of this one and led for a while, lost the lead, fought back, got the lead again. So those two have definitely been quick tonight, and just a, you know, if you want me to give a podium, I would say this M2 battle for the lead with Huge Ass and the Wrong Stuff have just been glued together all night long, and it has been great to watch. I gave you 3. Who's yours?
Who has impressed me the most in terms of the drives? I'm really been impressed tonight with WIP Racing, with Shink here this evening, because it's been in contention for the race lead for just about this entire day. Argue his best performance in a round as a whole in that 88. Wouldn't be surprised to see that Ford take the win, but it's going to require a lot of work with Preston Lee here. We'll also say it's been an interesting drive tonight from Eclipse. A couple incidents already. They seem to be on a prime strategy when it comes to the AM side to be able to situate themselves, Morgan, I would have to say, for their circumstance.
What do you think, JP? Are we getting ready to see a flurry of activity down pit road this time?
Still waiting for the word about pit road itself. But once pit road gets opened up here, I think it's going to be basically getting your math equations set up, because we know it's about 16 laps for the ballpark when it comes to the GT4s at least. Right now, the estimated window would be 2 stopper, even with the free pit stop here. You would have to think. That's at least what my math says, but it really depends on where the estimate for laps to go is at by the time we're done the safety car period.
I think 2 stops is probably the safe bet. I don't think this is a racetrack you want to try and save fuel at. There aren't a ton of opportunities to be able to do that. Like Road America, where we were a month ago, with the long straightaways, with the fast parts of the racetrack, you could absolutely save fuel by, you know, just lifting a little bit earlier in spots down the long straightaways, use the hills to your advantage, all that. You can't really do that here. You have the 1, maybe 2 fast sections. Other than that, it's really just a tight and technical part of the racing world, and you know, hard to save fuel here.
Or check comes down the back straightaway as some of these cars try and save a little bit here. Texas speed obviously going to be on fumes here by the time the pit road opens. Still no peel down, still no word on pit road, as a lot of the cars that got the wave arounds previously, some of them are still yet to get to the back of the pacing line, hence why this period continues here. By the way, maybe wondering who's got fastest laps in car make so far. SRN Esports Gold, Preston Lee has a 2:11.071. That's the quickest out of anybody in the field. The Ronstoff has the fastest, the M2s, 2:17.174. And the fastest in the GRA6 is actually Razor Racing's Kevin Nunn, who is currently with a 2:24.089. That last one, by the way, 4/10 up. Let's take a break while we can work through here because we're coming up towards 90 minutes to go. Still under caution. You're watching V-Speed.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Looking high above Sebring as we continue on with our safety car period here on V-Speed. The SCEL continuing on with tonight's action, brought to you in part by Pimax. Use the code SRN at checkout to save up to $50 to $80 off your next purchase. Pit lane is open, and all of those Pimax VR headsets are going to be looking at the pit crews in the next few moments. Question will be, who takes the pit stop? Who keeps the track position? Let's see who peels down for the front. The answer is...
Yes.
Well, yeah, a lot of the lead cars. We didn't see the 26 Agostino blend down, however, as well as at least a couple of the M2 leaders. We did have mixed calls on that battle, too. Really split decisions here, to say the very least, Morgan, in this circumstance, as a vast majority of the field comes down. At least 3 cars in GT4 did not come down. 4, in fact, as well as a couple of the M2s.
Yeah, curious decisions here. Difficult to see where it's all going to shake out until we get back pacing. Stonk stayed out for sure. Alpha Trout Challenge, both Thonk cars stayed out, Bud and Beer. And Rockefeller Purple, all on the racetrack.
I can see the math, though, because if the plan is 16-16 on stints,
right,
the next stop, if you expect the estimate to bring your lap count down towards 36 estimated laps to go after this safety car peels off the racetrack, the map is there to be able to go on a scheduled stop, in theory, because we're 4 laps, so they would have to go, right now, Thunk, for example, 6 more laps. That gets them to 32 with the lap trickle down this time through, likely to go down 2 laps.
Yeah, the question then becomes, everyone who pit here, do they have that awkward couple laps at the end of the race where they can just splash and go, potentially get them on a short pit stop and cycle ahead to a higher position? Or is this, for the top 4, the right strategy to get to the point and potentially win the race?
It's a good point, because some of the drivers in particular, with this caution period, because they didn't need a full tank, saved upwards of up to 17 seconds. How do we know that metric? Texas Speed with Matt Best in a driver change, with 37 seconds. The top drivers in the pit lane who took service went as low as 15 seconds. Majority were 20 seconds. Pit stalls when it came to the GT4s for their strategy. That being said, here when it comes to the M2 side, going to see a bit of separation pop up with those cars now, with Huge Ass electing to keep it on the racetrack. The wrong stuff will have to work through traffic for the first time today.
Working through traffic, although it's not a ton of traffic. See the HJ car, of course, leading the line. The wrong stuff is, they're poking out of line, but 8-10 cars back. So it's not a ton of traffic. The unfortunate part is it's a lot of faster class cars around you, and that's going to make the start a little more difficult.
How do you play the start as a result here then? What's the strategy? Especially, it depends on how things get sorted here, obviously, when we get ready for the restart situation. Some of the cars still try and figure out where they need to be lined up.
Well, the nice thing about Sebring is that you have a very wide straightaway and also a wide turn 1. So if you're a slow car, the fast cars can go around you on the right side, or you can get out of the way if you really want to and let the faster class cars go to the inside. That is also possible. So you should be able to avoid any major calamity on this kind of mixed up start. And it also gets you a little closer to, if you're the wrong stuff, a little bit closer to Huge Ass, because they also have to give way to 3, 4, 5 cars right behind them of a faster class. So it'll probably bring the classes back together.
Did hear at least one team, by the way, with the coaster caution period, did run out of gas. 127 camp. Breakfast Club Racing, it's kind of been a snowball for them. Some of their drivers not happy hearing because they ran out of gas with the extra laps of the wave around. That's how tight their window was, and they were last out of the cars in the class. They're still last out of the cars in the class. We're looking for a little bit of attrition here, as we've only seen, in fact, we haven't seen a single car out. We are at 1 to green confirmed this time through. So we are going to look at this race getting back underway with about an hour and 24 minutes to work with.
Now this is where you have to, as a driver, settle in. Put the helmet on tight, pull those belts tight, and yeah, focus up, because you have a long way to go here. Another at least 1 pit stop, possibly 2 pit stops to get to the end. You got to work through traffic. If you're up at the front, hope the strategy works. Maintain the track position, because it won't work without track position. And if you got cycled to the back after leading, work your way through traffic without any incident, and you might be able to put yourself in a situation to go win this race.
So again, it's Thunk Esports 1 and 3 here. The Bud and Beer cars, respectively. Alpha Trout, the sandwich in between, on the pylon at least. You also have Rockefeller Racing Purple in the 4th spot, who all stayed out this period for their class. They have to deal with the M2 leader, though, of Huge Ass, right off the rip. Will be in front of them for when they take the green flag. Keep in mind as well, a lot of those drivers, when it comes to your GR86s, are spread apart Razor Racing and Ballymore have a bit of a cushion, the overall car line at least, over the next positions of Hale Satin, and the rest of the drivers like Caboose Crew are towards the caboose, the overall pylon. So we're about to have a little bit of a frenzy here by the time we work our way up through 1, 2, 3 onward. Predictions on the craziness, Morgan?
Well, for the field's sake, we mentioned we haven't lost any drivers yet. Let's hope that everyone makes it through cleanly. It's going to be especially difficult, I think, off of turn 1 when you work all the way out to that curb to not get into somebody's door. And that's, I think, if we're going to see an issue, where it's going to happen.
Let's see how crazy this gets here. Already, UJAS moving straight to the right. They know the speed difference of the gears. And we're already seeing a sin for second. Ron Wolf right alongside Zachary Bowman. A lot of smoke popping up down the straightaway.
Eclipse got a big part of that.
Gear 5 just had the toe. We have more spinners.
Romble's in it. Oh, a big crashing back there. Let's go back and check this one out. Start off with Eclipse at the initial start.
What did I say about a wild start? Eclipse sparked it with the spin.
Oh, and they clipped another car there. That was a 77. And then it got worse in front of them. Who that was.
It got worse by the
Right
next
there.
corner, though. You know who got collected? Your points leaders in GT4 Pro. Mac Best is demolished with a broken suspension from this crash.
Yeah, that car took a big hit. Back one more time and see it. Yeah, it took a massive lick here. Track blocker, boom.
Oh, and look at that dodge from one of the Norton Sport machines. Hard cut to the right we see at the end of that replay. Survived it too. As Texas Speed still hobbling across the racetrack. Hale Satin and company checked up. Up front, it is right now the Thunk cars 1 and 2. Alpha Trout holding on though.
And that is exactly why you stay out and build your strategy around not pitting during the safety car. Because if you're up front, there is a very low likelihood of you getting caught up in something like that. But when you cycle to the back of the field, you know, the more you have this 3-4 wide racing down the front stretch, it takes one driver's mistake to take a whole bunch of cars out of it. And we just saw that.
Yeah, so far, this restart's brought a lot of craziness to it. Race them side by side, popping up for second again. Bowman getting the elbows out. By the way, drivers who are already pitted on the last caution are flying. Preston Lee, Francois Shrink have already gone themselves through some of the traffic. They're trying to chip away. They've already passed by Adam Ballard in the Rockefeller Racing purple car. M2 still sees Romano hold on in front, but Michael Brooks has gained all the time back already too.
The hard part here is being able to keep touch while letting the faster class through. Of course, that's going to be the difficulty, but Le Pit Club and Rockefeller Racing Green, they're also right. There's a 4-car battle for the lead. I haven't seen that in quite a while in this class.
Yeah, this is going to get interesting. Remember, these battles today have been pretty intense. Razor Racing, we talked about with their strategy, able to get a decent cushion. Right now, Ballymore Racing has already built up a cushion too on Hale Satin in that respect. But right now, the M2s, you still see them. What's kind of the thought process for some of the drivers who have normally not been in the conversation this season for the lead, like Blake Phillips here?
Well, you've shown pretty much all day that you have enough speed to run up in the top 3 or 4. Don't do anything extra because you've gotten here on merit. You don't need to prove yourself any further and go and wad it up by trying to go get that extra 10th or 2. Brooks and Romano have been in a class of their own all day. See if you can learn something from them here. But I wouldn't be trying to go out here and pass them and go take the lead Let's save that for another hour from now. And if you're still there right on the back bumper an hour from now, then it's time to push. But for now, just get to the next pit stop and make sure you don't throw this great run away.
Exactly, and remember, a lot of these drivers are looking to throw themselves forward on the pylon. Preston Lee, bumper to bumper for the battle for second. Ron Wolf trying to hold on in front. They'll pass by the 12 as it comes out of pit road, but Lee, he's fast. Schink hasn't been able to catch up as quickly compared to what Lee's doing here.
I think Lee right now is most worried about that yellow and orange 88 not too far behind him. If he can clear these two cars and have two cars between him and the 88, that is just going to be the best thing for him. But Lee's got to get going here really quick as they head into the hairpin.
Here comes the send up for the hairpin. In fact, by the hotel. Lee
tried the
couldn't
outside.
make it move. Yeah, didn't have the grip though to be able to get the run. This is getting pretty fierce here. The more they fight, the more this helps Tomer Augustino here to be able to run away from this. So at this point, a little bit near contact. Lee is a lot quicker in the middle of the corners. There's the blinking lights in frustration.
Yeah, this almost feels like a little bit like Martinsville, you know, well about that race there last night where you're stuck behind someone. You can see the leader driving away from you. You just cannot get around the guy in the center of the corner, and you really want to use the front bumper, but you're not sure that you should. But we might be getting to the point where you have to push the issue a little bit because that yellow and orange car behind you is looming large, and that is who you're battling on the strategy, and potentially for the win when it all cycles out. Yeah, this guy's loving it right here. Augustino is just driving away, setting sail here in Sebring.
Yep, right now just being able to pull away with the distance all well. See with the M2s still lined up with 3 cars within the train. All of them running in the 218s, around 218.3s to 218.4s for the most part. Nothing doing on the difference between these cars. Remember, here, Jazz, going to have that pit difference for later. Here's the opening. That was waited on for a bit there. As Serena is able to get alongside. Blinking lights from Ron Wolf. Wolf not happy with how that pass may have developed in Sector 1. Schink looking to the outside. Has the pull for the hairpin, but doesn't have the brake position as Wolf sends it back in.
Oh, little contact. The 9 somehow able to squeeze in front of the 88. That is going to frustrate Schink. I am sure of it. Gets back alongside through the kink at that point of the racetrack. Yeah, this is SRN Esports Gold. They have to go right here because the 88's probably a couple corners away from clearing. Contact through this part of the racetrack. And we're starting to lean on each other.
Everyone trying to avoid bouncing off one another at this point.
I believe Croc had an issue.
Remember, they were the ones that had the ring tire snafu here.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a spin there.
Going around off the racetrack.
Well, they got a lot of help. That was the Turtles.
Keep in mind, they are on the slicks, so they aren't on the wrong compound for those curious. They're not burning up those rubber machines, or rubber on the machine, should say. Look at the set for the 88. Yet again, Wolf, for whatever reason, just does not want anybody to pass him.
Might be playing. No, I don't want to say team orders, but trying to help the team out a little bit. You see, they got one car leading. About to have contact here if you're not careful. Wow. I don't know if I would have put my car there as the 9 to try and block that with half a width to the inside. There's going to be contact and everything into the next section. The 88 is not happy, and I wouldn't be either.
Yeah, this is getting a little bit absurd, you have to say, in terms of the difficulty to pass. But racing is racing. Getting held up still. Keep in mind, you can see how much that overlap's coming into play. Shane got squeezed off, and
he got him. Yeah.
Turns him around.
Yeah. Kind of saw that one coming.
You can see where that thought process was, Morgan. I think we both had the same thought as soon as the overlap happened by the time they got to the exit of the hairpin.
As soon as they were, side by side right there, you just kind of saw that one happening. And Nine's going to try and get turned around here, going to lose a bunch of spots. And the strategy they were on, it's effectively not a race winner anymore. It's just a, hopefully a podium.
Give credit with the strategy call, by the way, to how well we've seen Alpha Trout maintain themselves. Seen them do pretty well. You also have to give credit to Weenie Hut. This is on the strategy of pitting under the caution. It's the highest up they've been really all night after getting bounced around with a spin early.
And that's, again, just kind of avoiding the attrition. We saw a lot of drivers on that restart have issues. And Weenie Hut was not one of them. They got a little bit of damage, of course. You can see it right there on the left front, but not impacting the car all that much. Maybe a little more snug, trying to turn into the corners in certain directions, but still definitely seems drivable. I think the big winner out of all this is going to be in the AM class, and it's Rockefeller Racing Purple. Fairly big gap back to Royalty Racing, second in the AM class.
All this is where, for them at least, thought is being able to maintain that gap. This is the call they elect to make. They're right about near the pit stop delta, though. But they could still make it on a couple stopper easily with a couple laps of a window to spare, Morgan. That's the bright side of this call, where some of the others going to play the role on how long they go for the next little bit here once we get under an hour or so, and are going to have to be in the Splash and Dash Club. That's going to be the major thing, where those times really settle in the final 30 minutes or so.
Isn't it something how we always end up talking about fuel mileage in this series? We're race number 6 of the season, 5 or 6, and it's every week at this point. It's like, which strategy is going to work? I think we're split on if it's been pitting at the competition yellow or staying out the competition yellow that has gotten the win for the eventual winner of the race. So it's interesting to see that SCEL and SRN and everyone who's involved has done such a great job at making the fuel strategy complicated enough that you never know what the right move is until you're already in it.
Track. Brandon Towel right now behind the wheel of the 96. This track takes a lot of delicate work to put some good laps times down. Keep in mind, 96 has been dealing with damage, it looks like, for the course this run. So right now, you're talking about not only in their circumstance finding a tough track, but also dealing with some aero damage to potentially slow them up.
I think that's really going to hurt them on these fast corners, more so than the section we're coming to right now. I don't believe that aero damage is going to hurt all that much in the slower section of the racetrack. Not that it's really hurting them at all right now. I mean, they're lapping. Last lap was a 2:11.5. That would put them third fastest on track, behind the leaders at a 2:11 flat, and SRN Gold at a 2:11.25. So it's clearly not hurting Weenie Hut. The car just doesn't look as good as it used to.
They're doing decent to say the least right now and have a chance to top 4. Turn the laps down more and more. We just had a crash. It's involving the M2s. We just had the 237 get turned into the wall. Rockefeller Racing Green was side by side with middle of the pack racing, and disaster strikes out of 1. A little Doran at first, and it got worse.
Yeah, just a miscommunication, a little bit of a disagreement on space off or out of turn 1. And were those not the 2 cars who were fighting earlier in the race and having some extracurriculars?
A little bit, maybe. I don't know if it was those 2, but there was a lot of cars doing that tonight.
Certainly, I know. Middle of the pack racing endurance was certainly one of them. I can't. Oh, it was the Locos. That's what it was.
Yes.
Yes. I just remember this nice bright green car. Hard to forget, and that sometimes that's a good thing. Sometimes it's not a good thing. When you have the bright car that's hard to forget because people seem to remember when you drive into them. This Rockefeller Green, obviously with the meatball flag, heavy nose damage. They will have to pit here to get that repaired. That'll burn the second of their 2 fast repairs.
Yeah, and this is going to put them into a spot where if they want to finish the race on their own power, going to need to hope for a miracle. No trouble, no off tracks, no major crashes.
Yeah, it's not been the cleanest day for them as we just passed halfway. Oh, big spin, Alpha Trout.
And they were running so well on this strategy. They missed the apex, and it never stuck from there.
So that really only leaves 2 cars on that strategy who haven't had big issues. That's your leader, Thonk by Bud. In 5th place, leader of the AM class, Rockefeller Racing Purple.
So now, that separation, by the way, between them and their fellow rivals, 7 seconds. What do you think the discussion's like in the Rockefeller camp? Some of the cars with attrition, but having a chance to get a win here today.
I think right now your conversation is about fuel because we are right on the edge. 20 laps on this run. I think you got to be pitting this time or next time by. And that should take the nerves away a little bit from the driver, knowing that he's got a great position right now. You're fighting with Royalty Racing, who, like you mentioned, is 7 seconds behind. Just keep it on the racetrack. Things will work out just fine.
Still not up at 1 hour to go quite yet for the marker. Alpha Trail, by the way, close to Royalty Racing for their battle packs. The air battle packs, Huge Ass and the Wrong Stuff are still bumper to bumper, by the way. They put 4 seconds on the gap to the rest of the class yet again. They've kind of gone in their own little world here. Michael Brooks still providing pressure as they deal with lap traffic of Stephen Kirby.
Working around that Advanced Sim Racing machine. Oh, got caught him in a bad spot and lose a little bit of time here for the Wrong Stuff. Bit of a moment there off of just about spun off that curve. Those are quick hands. Rockefeller Purple on the pit lane.
So that's expected for their fuel strat. Making a driver change also. Leah Spiker jumps behind the wheel of that car. So some of the drivers on the alternate strategies now coming in. That puts in the same spot for Augustino and for Bowman. And being able to be good on the fuel by a few laps on the estimate here is the case. The M2s, you still see some of the our drivers shaping up on their battle pack. Smooth operators still surviving for the top 5 at the moment.
Yeah, good recovery after they had that spin. Remember with the weird gear hang earlier in the race, they were able to rebound up to 6th position. I don't think anyone really has anything for your top 2, Huge Ass and the Wrong Stuff. It's really kind of a best of the rest race it's shaping out to be. Smooth Operator's going to give up a spot and probably take it right back. It's way wide for Los Locos. He's going to lose 2 spots, trying to go get 1.
Looking to try and dig is the big thing. Smooth Operators did take the faster pair previously. Yeah, Vescurio Los Locos. We know how aggressive Patrick Mason's been here tonight. Sentacal just riding on behind in the coattails of Smooth Operators, though. Sunday GT Turtles, okay day, Morgan, but not the best day when it comes to a championship fight.
Yeah, a bit surprising. Remember, we saw this team really show out in the first couple races of the season, but kind of since then, it's just been a slow decline in pace. And it's possible that it's because we've seen some other drivers jump in here that didn't necessarily start the season, but I expect to see the Turtles really a lot closer to the front than this, maybe up in the top 3 versus in the bottom 5 in their class, or in 7th at the moment. Gear 5, big issues. What happened to that car?
They've had a couple different incidents here tonight, Morgan.
Yeah, I don't
it's
see
not
what it was, but yeah, Meatball on, oh, there it is. Crash in Sunset.
Yeah, big crash, in fact, losing the front bumper. Look at this. And
yeah, I know that all too well. Done that a number of times.
I was about to say, that car just did not turn.
That V-speed on the back, that could be me.
I mean, it's not you in this circumstance.
Not this time, it's not, but sure could have been. Sure could have been. Either way, not what they were looking for. They were running, I believe, last in class, but that's definitely gonna make it difficult to get a spot better than 16th at this point.
Yep, so right now, everybody else just trying to hope to survive, because that's the big thing when it comes to Sebring here is attrition rate we've seen start to ramp up all of a sudden. Have to wonder how some of the drivers are faring out with the off tracks.
Especially the drivers who haven't had driver changes and who won't have driver changes. Like Preston Lee. Was up, battling with the 88 for the lead for a lot of this race. Now that Thonk just pit, now it takes the lead back. 22 laps Thonk ran on that one run with the aid of the caution.
Yeah, a long time. But the math again says they can't make them the distance. It's going to likely now be a short stop regardless for them, just because of how well they extended some of these cars here from Thunk. That's going to be very helpful to be able to actually keep up with the potential of the short pit from those who are going to pit in a few laps anyhow.
Kind of inadvertently, I think, got them closer than they were.
Yep, so here the drivers march along for the 1 hour to go mark. You mentioned some of the drivers here you see in the choo-choo train. Some of them dealing with lap traffic, like Eclipse Racing wanting to get by. Some of them, this pack is starting to shed some cars. Mason losing some ground in the past couple laps. Sunday GT Turtles did get around Smooth Operators and is really building a distance here now that they've gotten around to be able to get some clean space.
Something I never really noticed here is that little extra banking off of Sunset. You can see it kind of right at the bottom of your screen on the left side. Is if you push it a little bit wide, there's a bit of banking to keep you from smacking into that fence, as it would be very easy to do. And what a nice touch that they did here to make it a little easier for the drivers to not crash the car off the final corner.
Absolutely. We are right at the 1 hour to go mark of this race tonight. Tonight's race is brought to you by Race Ready 3D. your source for high-performance sim racing parts and accessories built for precision, comfort, and durability. From custom mounts to hardware upgrades, every part is designed by racers for racers, helping you stay focused on what matters most, the drive. Visit RaceReady3D on Etsy or at raceready3d.myshopify.com and get race ready today. Alpha Truck just came down this time by for their scheduled stop. Some of the others expect to be about 3 laps or so from their estimated windows here, Morgan. So what's kind of going to the mind here for some of the teams? You see, for example, some of them just trying to log laps like Breakfast, who are right now as high as 7th, in fact, with how things have spiraled for some of the cars.
Yeah, strategy is, I think once it cycles out, it's not going to look quite as rosy for the 127 here, but at least for now, you've got a top 6. It's looking good at the moment. If you're one of the drivers who are leading your strategies, SRN Esports Gold, or the 77, the BD4 Pink Club, or Thonk by Bud, you're really just trying to do the math in your head and hope that it shakes out, but really just logging laps right now, trying to keep it on the racetrack, put together decent lap times, and if you do think there's going to be a gap, manage it appropriately, either whether it's with strategy or whether it's with on-track pace. If you're not the leader in your group, you're right now trying to go get the leader in your group and be the leader of your strategy so that you have a shot to go get the win should it work out that way. And if you're too far back to go get the lead of your group, then you're just, again, logging laps, making sure you make it to the finish.
Just thinking about how things have gone by the way, in terms of some of these fights, M2 still close, as we talked about. Interesting enough, Ballymore, we talked about having a fair distance back as well in the GRE6s. Guess what? They've also closed up the Racer Racing. So some of these little packs have really been able to migrate together over the course of the race. These two, of course, we see on screen. But GRE6 also is in that conversation, Morgan, with how things close late.
I've been impressed with both of these drivers and just being able to always stick together. You know, we're an hour and 40 minutes, a little over that, into this race, and neither have made any kind of mistake to separate themselves. It's like they're joined at the hip, and it's really interesting to be able to see that over such a difficult course, working through traffic and being worked around as traffic, and yet they're still glued together.
Something's got to separate that for the race win, though, obviously. Remember, that separation is going to be, in the case of the GRA6s, they've already gone about 20-plus laps over the course of their strategy, including the pace laps here. They'll be offset by at least 8 laps to what Caboose and Hail Satin do. Mind you, those drivers are still, even then, a good 8 seconds back, as here's a look at the M2s yet again. This pack will not quit.
The Smooth Operators went and got the spot away from the Turtles. Now they're doing the old Indy Snake here, trying to keep each other from getting the draft.
Trying to break up the pattern a little bit over the course of that battle. Yet again, Smooth Operators high side. Santos GT Turtles able to clear on by. Zip their way up the spot here, contact to the wall for good measure.
Yeah, Smooth Operators missed the corner. They tried to block and they were a little late on the move. Almost missed Sunset Bend, and they, I think, again, kind of missed turn 1 with a bit of a wide entry there. I don't think it's going to work out. They're off in the dirt almost. Not enough run to go get the spot back. Heavy braking zone. There might be contact. Nice job keeping it tidy. That should have been a lot worse than that. Oh, a little contact there.
Yeah, hit the curbing, trying to keep it off the grass. A little bit of argy-bargy yet again. As they battle their way up to the hairpin.
3 wide.
Here we go. That's not going to work there. Mason had to tuck back in line. Yet again, the run for the 205 holds off the battle.
I think all three of those drivers should be very pleased at Patrick Mason's decision to not force it 3 wide. I don't think any of them were going to make it through. If that was the case, smooth operator still on the outside might have lost the spot. No, they're still there.
Yet again, though, hit the curb yet again. Got a little bit loose as they worked their way on through. Up the tower they go this time. Cochran stays off of the popcorn seat. Looks for a chance to reset. And if they battle for way too long here, keep in mind, you have Virginia Ridge runners that are the next car back, a couple seconds back of this fight. That's how much time they're starting to bleed.
Yeah, they're not that far away from having another one join the fray. Though they are a ways away from North Sports having anything to say, or having them anything to say about North Sports' position in the race. They're at 9 seconds up the road.
Yeah, it's still a fair way for some of the distances here, but at this point the focus is simple for this group. We're going to have some fun. We're going to fight.
Oh,
Where
Turtles missed the corner.
They are way wide.
I guess no one wants to run 6th. That's kind of what I'm seeing here.
Yeah, that was a big mistake. They're lucky they didn't scrape the wall down with that wide of an angle. James Cochran crosses up. Big bobble back for Senecal. That sets up smooth operators. Can they make a smooth pass for turn 3? They do.
Now they got to go catch Los Locos, who were able to squeak away with that error from the Turtles. While that's going on, Weenie Hut has caught up to WIP Racing, about 2 seconds back of SRN Esports Gold. And all these drivers, I would think, we're hitting pit road in the next lap or two.
Yeah, their window wide open, and it's going to set up a late race top-off for all these players as they close up the races. Keep in mind, Weenie Hut, see on the charge previously, also GR86 and M2, still relatively close for their lead battles. So now this is the nerve-wracking part. The money stuff's coming up in a couple sequences, and some of these classes are going to be close to that mark to be able to make it. Obviously, this class you see on board with not in the window to make it right now, but they're still pretty close. That 88 machine still fighting. You see that rear damage from earlier contacts.
A lot of drivers in this race really persevering and fighting through some moments that they would rather not have happened. Of course, the damage on the left front of the Weenie Hut machine, damage on the left rear of the WIP machine, and a bunch of others with damage sprinkled through the field. These two just will not quit. Cochran all over the back bumper of Mason.
Still not done. A little bit of a slide up the track that time for Mason. And right now, what do you think is going through Mason's mind with already an incident tonight with a big crash from some of this hard battling? Looking to try and at least maintain a good finishing spot here with one of their better races of the season.
Oh, issue for the Turtles. Way off track.
Do you think they're overcooking the tires here, or is this just things spiraling a little bit, trying to get back in a rhythm?
That one almost seemed mechanical. It's like they just didn't turn out of. They didn't correct the wheel back straight out of the corner. That was kind of a weird issue. The weird issue. Obviously not terminal, as they're able to keep it on the racetrack, but that could have been a big moment. I think they are definitely pushing quite hard at Sunday GT Turtles, because this is about the lowest they've been in quite a while, running 8th. Big gap behind them, really not a lot to lose if you push, as long as you don't wreck the car.
Yeah, the big thing for them right now is making sure they get around once again for the smooth pass. Smooth operators. Ride in the coattails of Mason. Coming up to 22 estimated laps to go for that class, by the way. And all of this as well, this race has remained relatively cleanish outside of a few major flare-ups with some of the battle packs. Look at this flare-up. Ridge Runner Racing actually got zipped by easily by Croc.
Yeah, Croc has had a day to forget here. Dropped a bunch of spots from where they started. They're down 6 in class, and really they're just trying to keep it back going. Le Pit Club Racing Black on pit road. That's the first shot across the bow in the M2s.
Yeah, now plan is on for drivers to be able to figure out where they go on the runs. Keep in mind some of the cars still 17 laps into their stints currently. Might be close for being able to make it for a couple teams. And the M2s here, Sunday GT Turtles, has lost touch though with the rest of that battle pack, as yet again, small poke, nothing to do. So obviously the thought is trying to build the aggression and trying to be able to make a pass, but there's only so much you can do. Remember, this is an endurance series, and you have stops like these to think about, like for your leaders.
WIP and Weenie Hut both on pit road at the same time will hand the lead back to SRN Esports Gold. Must think they can make it the extra lap on fuel. Same with Beaver Moose. They're on the same strategy. What does Royalty Racing do? They're on pit road. So is Breakfast. So clearly, SRN Esports Gold and Beaver Moose think they got a little bit extra in the tank. And if they're wrong, this is a bad decision. But if they're right, this could be a race-winning decision.
Yeah, this is going to be important for a lot of the drivers with traffic too. Lee in the midst of it. Right now, his gap 10 seconds for the lead on track. It was 2 seconds before the pit stop started for some of the other class members. Preston Lee might lose a little bit of ground here, but he has been able to really run away, it seems, Morgan. His main time he's been able to build this distance has been around after 20-ish minutes on the tires and on the track. Then the gap seems to grow when it comes to this SRN Esports Gold car.
Yeah, long run certainly in the wheelhouse today for Preston Lee. And we're just going to have to hope for him, for his sake, that he's able to figure it out on the short run as well and not lose any time coming off pit road, because it's probably going to come down to one of those last couple lap dashes. And if it takes a while for the tires to warm up, you might have to double stint them to be able to keep them hot still, or else you might lose a lot of that time you gained. Should be coming in this time. Yes, he does.
Stop time for the race leader as they zip on through for what's going to be close for the mark on gas. 19 laps of the tank, 22 estimated laps to go. The AM lead, by the way, Big Promble's got it with the way things have cycled for now. But remember, Rockefeller Racing, they are right now cycled behind Breakfast in terms of those pit stops. So a lot of intrigue there to keep an eye on late also. How do you save the fuel and how hard do you save it, knowing how this could be for some of the drivers late?
This is a hard track to save fuel. I kind of mentioned it earlier with not a lot of fast sections. Most of it's really slow and technical, where you need the throttle to make the car drive well, make it turn, make it rotate. Very difficult, I think, here to save fuel. You just have to employ lift and coast, lift maybe a board or two before you normally would, less brake into the corners, really let it roll through apexes, don't have the throttle steer it. All that stuff is kind of really the only way you're going to be able to make this fuel tank last any longer. Down here's a good opportunity to save a decent amount of fuel just by lifting way early and letting it roll in instead of using the brakes. Then a lot of fuel burn up through this section, not really a reason to lift off the throttle until you get down to the next couple corners right here.
Yep. Don't know if there's really any left or coast for the 77 in their circumstance, though. Didn't look like that was the case in that spot. But as we said, Net-Am lead does have a change here. And for Breakfast, if they were to get an opportunity to make themselves into the conversation after not being in it all day, that'd be stunning. Remember, they were 2 minutes behind at one point, had ran out of fuel under caution, and now, depending on what happens here, our net, should correct myself, net second with Royalty Racing, having a quick stop up the road.
Yeah, they put themselves in an excellent spot. That's pace, that's just consistency, and not making mistakes, not compounding mistakes, and they've done a great job of keeping themselves relevant in this race as we're starting to see the strategies combine and converge. It's about to get spicy here, JP, and I still don't know which strategy is going to be the right one, as that's some M2s on pit road together. These two still side by, are still together, battling for third now with the pit sequence. Locos and the Smooth Operators, I think. 77's now in pit road.
There's their scheduled stop at going to be 21 estimated to go, give or take. Should say about 20-ish. But as you see, lead gap, pretty decent. It's by at least a few meters. That's an understatement, at least between Lee and Schenk. But the gap is there, is what we're trying to say. Weenie Hut cycled ahead. So did Thunk Esports with Augustino. Oh, by the way, Matt Best is your leader right now because with the faster pair there, right now up in front end, that would be an interesting situation. Crash and win. Do you think that's possible if they can save enough gas?
I think they have the best shot of doing that. Of course, they haven't pit yet to make this stop. And what are we estimating? About 40 minutes of fuel in the tank for these cars?
That's been about 16 laps, give or take.
Something like that. Well, they're working 17 right now. The rest of the field behind them did 18, pushing 19. If they can do maybe 1 to 2 more laps, yeah, they have a shot at making this on one stop. And boy, would that be a comeback again? Did the same thing last week, or last month, I should say.
It almost worked for them that day until they ran out on the last corner.
That's true. That is true. But they still ended up rebounding from going off in turn one, I think 2 different times, to having a shot at winning. And you're right, they didn't. They ended up losing by about a half a car, a fender, or whatever it was. But at least they were in the conversation at the end.
They might have to go for the same playbook again and say, we're going to try this again. We have to. They're going to have to save at least 1.5 minutes of fuel if you go by the total on the clock. Right now, estimate going to be interesting to watch the rest of the way for Matt Best. Thunk will take the race lead for now, though. But the 6th lap opposite to the rest of the strategy is there is the stop for Best.
And really last month came down to not getting the white flag the lap they expected. It was about 8 seconds the difference between when they wanted the white flag and when they ended up getting it the lap later. So, you know, it could all come down to something as fine as that on the margin. And boy, wouldn't that make an interesting finish to the race.
Looking at some of the air battles as they go. How about some blocks? This is right now important for Weenie Hut for a podium. Trying to hold back Preston Lee. Lee charging behind. He's faster long run. This is getting a little bit frustrating potentially. This is second on the track, should say, with Lee getting boxed in and close on the braking zone.
Especially because the car right behind him in WIP Racing, that is very important position for Lee. That's been his closest competitor all day long. If the strategy is going to work, he has to stay ahead of the WIP racing car.
Yeah, that's the point. It's important to find a way around because the gap is right now 6 seconds to the 26. If it comes down to them for the lead, Thunk might be in the prime spot to capitalize. Here comes Preston Lee on the charge, though. Lee might need a deep lunge if he wants to go for it this time. Might be too far back. Hold on, he's got something cooking. And he will take a look into Sunset, trying to pressurize the mistake. Gets a tight peel back. Cuts underneath to the O-line, side by side.
Drag race down the front stretch. Not quite going to have enough. Going to cross over to the inside. Never let him know your next move. Oh, Weenie took a very conservative entry to 1. That's going to push him out wide. What does the gold car do? WIP to the inside for a moment. Moved him up out of the way.
Got a little bit argy-bargy again. Remember, Dial trying to hold on in front. Up and down day for Weenie Hut, to say the least. They started on the down with an incident. They've got themselves on an up with the faster pair now. They all bundle themselves back. They've now equalized to the leader. Last time by, they themselves on the timer lost 9/10. The interval hasn't changed this lap yet, though. So there is a chance if this gets done quickly for Lee, he can go in push mode for the final laps.
Gotta clear Weenie Hut. And for those wondering why the two fastest cars in the M2 class are no longer together, the wrong stuff still on the racetrack. Hugh Jass has made their pit stop, likely the final one of the day.
That was the next point to make there, Hugh Jass. Right now, their cycle, about 1 minute back. Escuderia Los Locos just came down first scheduled service. Here we go. Lee got alongside. The Weenie Hut General looks to try and hold on to the outside. Up for Sunset.
3 wide?
Maybe? No.
Not hard about
Lee,
it.
Lee keeps it stuck, though, and there goes the 88 with them.
Weenie had to give way. Well, Lee almost caught the wall on that bump.
Yeah, they're not done fighting here, though. Here we go with some of the GRA 6s to deal with. That's going to be Hale Satin, who tries to hold on the side of the racetrack. All of this as well. That gap has already gone up. You know how quickly it's gone up? How about 4 car lengths just about in the opening corners of this lap? All from one pass. Next up is Blake Phillips, fresh off pit road, sticking to the inside.
Idiot should be able to make the pass here into the hairpin. Yeah, easily going to clear. Weenie Hut stuck behind. That's going to hemorrhage some time. This is battle for second. Could be the battle for the win. Although Thonk, 7 seconds ahead. They have gained a lot of time on this run.
Going to have to find a way to chip away pretty quickly.
And I would imagine that even on the pit stop, I'm assuming both these cars are going to have to pit, or all 3 of these cars are going to have to pit. Thonk, SRN, and WIP. 7 seconds. I don't think that 7 seconds is going to be shorter than the time difference on fuel in pit road. So Thonk's looking really good right now to potentially squeak this one out.
And they weren't in the conversation, you can argue, Morgan, for much of this race after the early going. But all it takes is the right strategy with the competition caution. You can plan yourself into a situation to be able to try and win a race like this. There they go, past some of the GR86s. Keep in mind in that circumstance for the GR86s, by the way, Caboose Crew has gotten in front of Razor Racing with a much shorter pit stop for that conversation. Also, keep in mind, Ballymore yet to pit for their stop. So, Caboose Crew looking to go back-to-back here.
Maybe there's a possibility for Ballymore to take a shorter fuel load. They have about a 40-second lead at the moment. Could that be the difference? Potentially have them fighting for a win here today. Beaver Moose and Royalty Racing. That is for the 5th position. Here comes Alpha Trout.
Alpha Trout highs the top 5, looking to get back there on Beaver Moose. Right now, Royalty Racing, your AM class leaders, as they run 2 by a substantial margin. Right now, it's 7 seconds up for Justin Kidd. There's the traffic. Takes away a passing opportunity here. Good day for Alpha Trout, I will say, on pace. Great day for Royalty Racing.
Agreed on both of those, and I would say Beaver Moose same way. Again, we talked earlier how we don't really talk about the team running 5th right now, but they have definitely given us something to talk about here this evening. The 3 stout in that Harley Quinn looking car.
Something's going to have to give if you want a change for spots here yet again. So a lot of time to go, but Alpha Trout looking along the outside, showing the nose the whole way, entering through.
Oh, he got him! Both of them!
They both crash. Beaver Moose keeps it straight. Alpha Trout turns it around, and that's in the run through Le Mans.
Yeah, that was a aggressive move, to say the least, and just a mistake, I think, if you're Alpha Trout.
So temper flares up yet again. Look at this. They're still not done battling for second on the track. Lee has to back out of it, and the 88 moves up to second this time.
And that is potentially the battle for the win. If Thonk has to take a long pit stop here for fuel, because the gap's back up to 7.25 seconds. These two to Thonk.
Oh, near contact yet again. At this point, Ballymore just trying to move out of the way. And they're not racing like they're trying to work together, obviously, to catch up to the race later. At this point, I think they have kind of changed where the SCEL has gone.
Back to Ballymore, they did pit, and it's 7 seconds ahead of Caboose Crew. So that is not over yet.
17-second pit stop is why they got such the advantage here, Morgan. And that's the game they played. Remember, much larger fuel tank in a GR86.
That's right. They should be able to make it to the end here. And boy, would that be a way to work the strategy in your favor. Now it's just got to be no mistakes for the 427.
What a change of the tides here for Ballymore. Still, though, as we go on to the closing stretch, good time to remind everybody that tonight's racing is also brought to you in part by Rookie Racing. Ready to hit the track? The Rookie Racing Rentals program is your starting line. Stop dreaming and start driving. Make it easy for new racers to get behind the wheel. To book your rental, contact our team. Details are in the description below. So that brings us to 30 minutes to go. 30 to go. Some of the cars, like Smooth Operators, we can tell you are in the window to make it. Same for some of the air drivers in the M2 class. Fuel strategy on for a lot of the air cars. But at this point, the lights open for pit stops. It's the question on when everyone else now peels down with an estimated 14 to go.
And this is where you hope your fuel calculations paid off. You hope the calculator was in degrees and not radians. That you put fresh batteries in it, because if you're wrong on this one, this could absolutely derail your day.
Yeah, and this is where your strategists, or better yet, at least in a series like this, your teammate. So he's giving you the encouragement to focus and hopefully chance to celebrate. Some of these drivers too don't have that luxury. Justin Kidd, not one of the drivers with the luxury of a teammate. Schenk, not one of the ones with a teammate. Alzon, not with a teammate. A lot of the others electing to drive solo, of course, this race. So you don't have that luxury in a lot of these cases of someone on your box to help you.
Yeah, trying to figure out fuel mileage in a race like this, where it's time-based, not lap-based, can be a lot more difficult, I've always found it. Trying to do it in your head while trying to maintain lap time and go get the guy in front of you or save fuel or do both. Yeah, very difficult. A lot easier said than done. And major props to all the drivers out here who aren't doing it with any help and just trying to sort it out by themselves. That was just about contact with the M2.
Yeah, that was a little bit touch and go. Middle of the pack racing. Remember, has already had some contact here tonight. Don't want to obviously wreck the leaders here. That is Brooks Clayton, now dropping the 9 car. Right now looking at a top 5 run. And I haven't touched much about the standings per se tonight, but thinking about that in terms of the conversation for the points. With the way things are shaping up here, Texas Speed, it depends on what happens here, right? Their car is 50 seconds behind the leader. Here's the thing. There's a chance they don't even get a chance to cycle to the front with the fuel save here. And this type of a position, likely, even if they were to still get a top 3, there is a strong chance Thunk does get a chance to bonk their way to the top of the standings after tonight.
If it plays out the way it looks like it will. You mentioned the fuel strategy for the number 1. Of course, they pit a lap later than pretty much everyone else. We think maybe they can stretch it on fuel, but again, that being 50 seconds back. The fastest pit time we've seen today is about 58 seconds for a 35-second stop. So they might be able to maintain by a couple seconds the lead, but that's if it's a super efficient stop, and there's no guarantee that it will be. So I don't know. I wouldn't be terribly hopeful if I was the 1 at this point in time. And they could, again, as you mentioned, lose the points lead if this strategy doesn't work out.
Especially with having to come back from a massive crash to start this stint in the first place with a faster pair, where they didn't take fuel when they had to take that said faster pair. Oh, wow. Second. It's now equalized on time here. I think these two have stopped their brawling for now. But the question is, will they spark it up again? They are still 7.2 seconds back. Michael Brooks next for them to lap. They'll pass by Brooks, who's still, with the way things cycled here, with their stop difference, because of an 8-second faster stop for Brooks, he leads by 5 seconds.
And the 299, next car behind. They're going to have some work to do. It's just about 6 seconds, you mentioned. The gap between those two. You're talking about applying pressure. Imagine seeing this in your rear view.
We know he likes to hug the inside because of how much the chances for passes are on here. Nothing do it for Lee. You can't force it there without contact. Racing tonight, no force this time. As you can see, one of the air cars at pit, one of the AM cars, Rockville Racing purple, just peeled on down. Write this number down. 18 laps was the distance they went. Why is it important? Thunk Esports, the leaders, are right now coming up to lap 17 of the run. So this is right about the wheelhouse to be able to come in soon. 18 laps led so far for Agostino tonight.
Yeah, I mean, this run, like, they ran well before the competition yellow, but they weren't world beaters by any stretch. They were just fine. They were around the top 5, maybe a little bit outside the top 5. Then they decided to try and different strategy and try and do something aggressive, and so far it's worked out for them. I mean, the other 3 drivers who tried this strategy, they're all had issues. Thunk by Beer, I guess the only one who hasn't, they're in 5th, but the other 2 tried the strategy, had issues and weren't able to capitalize. Because this might be the one that wins the race, potentially, if things continue to go the way that we expect. Now it's just got to be a mistake-free final 23 minutes for the field.
That's still coming up to 10 estimated laps to go. That could almost feel like an eternity around here. Still Lee as they go. Still swarming the back bumper. Still no run yet. Got a little bit loose this time for Big Ben. As more stops.
Thonk Beer on pit road. They're on the same strategy as Thonk Bud.
So that should be the indicator of when this stop's coming up for the leader. Remember, these drivers on track going to likely have to come down, if the math adds up, as late as 3 laps to go.
This will tell us how long the stop has to be, too. This is great information to get here. Normal stop's been about 35 seconds. There it is, 21 seconds. It tells you how long it's going to be. Even down pit lane, that's still about 50 seconds. So Texas Speed Sim, they're still in the hunt. They're only a couple seconds outside that window. It's not out of the realm of possibility that if they don't have to stop, they could still get this done.
Keep in mind with all this going on here too, a lot of the air battles have separated out for now, but it's more about how well you've done the math and the preparation. Beaver Moose still doing well with their battle pack. Alpha Trout right behind them still. Just searching with the traffic, you see as well some of the M2s keeping close, like these cars right here. Can tell you, overall leader is in. So it's time for stops with about 10 to go. This will put WIP Racing to the lead for now.
How long is the stop for Thonk? That's the big question. Their teammate was in for 21.6. I would imagine about 19 or 20 will be the amount of time on pit road. You can see it left side of your screen. There it is, 20.3 seconds. 20.8 is what it ends up at. That still puts them well ahead of Texas Speed Sim Racing Blue.
There goes the chances, I think you could say, in their circumstance for Matt Best. It's going to be a miracle. Royalty Racing going to service 10 seconds. Only 10, 11 seconds of the stop, Morgan. Going to be important to consider here because that stop you just mentioned, when it comes to Agostino, was 21 seconds. There is a chance, strong chance, in fact, with the top off, that battles like this are going to have a chance to cycle in front, let alone your top 2 on track right now.
Yeah, we are far from deciding who's going to win this race. It's not just one of the battles on track. It's also going to depend on the pit strategy, of course. These two are still going at it. Contact, crossing each other over, moving in braking zones, dipping and diving. Look at the run off the corner for Alpha Trout. Can they find a way around Beaver Moose?
Oh, near contact. Bowman all over the bumper. Had to back up the corner to avoid contact.
Remember, contact here last time.
Then here we had contact again. And at this point, Beaver Moose
There's more of it.
Contact.
And they do it again.
And yet again, Bowman's the only one who spins from it. These two are not going to like each other after this race, let's put it that way.
No, goodness, that's a heartbreaker twice for Bowman.
2 times with the same car.
In
What
roughly
else
the
can
same
you say?
place, too.
Yeah, same corner complex. And that being said here, right now, that still sees Alpha Trout have to come down in for their stop. You can see on the boxes. So, timing just works out for exactly when they need a pit anyway.
At best, fast lap of the day. 110 flat, or sorry, 210 flat. My goodness. 3 seconds in the box for Alpha Trout.
How much gas can you put in 3 seconds?
Apparently enough. Oh, apologies, it's still going. Okay, something happened with their timing and scoring. Yeah, we're still on pit road. I was going to say 3 seconds. That's wild. It looks like we're about 15, 16 at this point, effectively taking them out of the talks for the win.
Reason there's been an issue, by the way, Zachary Bowman jumped out of the car, and he's done. He's parked it.
Gotcha.
Reason why he parked it, not going to be for incident points. Surprisingly, no one's reached that tonight, I think.
Not only that, we don't have a car out of the race due to damage either.
I mean, we have the fast repairs to be able to repair the cars tonight. A couple in the bank. Everyone's at least utilized some of it tonight, you'd have to say. And it's kept the field running to try and get points as we're heading for the home stretch of the championship. With a couple races to go, keep in mind, Long Beach up next is going to be one of the ultimate tests for competitors here too. So if you like open space racetracks, going to be a couple months until we get one more shot at a similar track like that in Georgia.
The season's coming to a close. The uber technical Long Beach next time out. And then, yeah, as you said, a kind of a fast, flowy track down in Georgia Road, Atlanta, to wrap up the season. Long Beach is going to get wild, I feel like, with the different paces here. I think it'll be all like most sport, where we had sections on the racetrack where you just simply could not pass lap traffic. It'll be up through that SS section as there's just about contact here. These two both testing the braking zones as far as they can.
Really pushing the limits of their cars right now. Lee lost a little bit of ground. Remember, Lee is usually by this part of the run the faster of the two cars here by far. But this run has kind of been the flip of the switch. It is late in the session here because the question on, do you think he had the car built for when it was a hotter track? The temperature's gone down 7 since we last talked about it.
I mean, that could be it. We are on the fixed setup, so I don't know if the temperature makes that big of a difference to only one driver. could just be that he has typically been in clean air at this point in the run. He hasn't been able to have that because he's right on the back bumper of Schink.
Good point. I was gonna say, when I was on the ovals, yeah, it absolutely meant a difference to me. I race better when it's cloudy or at the end of the session compared to when it's really hot.
I suppose you're right. I always drove better when it was hot, so I guess I understand what you're saying there for sure. Balance changes and all of that, but this could also be a stalk the driver in front of you and maybe force them to make a mistake rather than trying to go for the pass right now.
Or save fuel.
Or save fuel, or try and be the first one on pit road, and maybe you can jump them that way on a good outlap.
I think that's the game plan. I think you just outlined it straight up what the approach is here for Lee, because we've seen this come into play with the M2 lead, and they're going to have to come down in a couple laps time here. They will lap Virginia Ridge Runner Racing. Glenn Bratton has been in that car most of the race, by the way. Give credit to the 289. Solid day for their class as window is open for people to take their top offs now. Big Problem just took it early, 14 laps in.
They're still fighting for the AM lead. Texas Speed caught up to the 77, who I feel like they had a shot at it at one point in time and just kind of went awry with the spin that they had under the yellow.
Yeah, it was looking good for a couple of teams like the 77 earlier, not so much now with them as far down to 7th. But now, the sun really starts to set here. Sunlight gonna really come into play. Now, Schink. Will he take the hard turn right yet? Not yet. 6 estimated to go. Oh, and nearly up in the wall for Lee.
Yeah, Lee is getting every inch of this racetrack. Around Razor Racing.
Yeah. Ballymore still holds on to the lead by 5 seconds, by the way, in the GRA6 conversation, so things look steady there over Caboose. All while the Ron stuff has a 3-second advantage still over Hugh Jass for the M2 class. So this is your closest battle for the win. Here's the M2 car. Hugh Jass, they're digging. They gained 4/10 last time by, so they are chipping away. I don't know if there's enough time to do it, though, at the pace they're running.
The difficulty is getting worked over by this traffic, right? You have to give up your optimal line, and that's really where the time loss comes from, is they're in the middle of the closest battle on the racetrack, at least for the moment. BD4 by Late Apex Racing Club and Texas Speed Blue will try to get an extra spot out of this. Ballymore still up by 6 seconds. What a turnaround. What a strategy call for Ballymore.
Robert Noble is going to be happy about this one if this car holds up in post-race. John O'Donnell, his teammate, working with him throughout the night also. They still have 11 minutes to execute. This is the largest the lead's gotten, by the way, in a while. Schink is stretching and stretching fast. But remember, he will have to be the first of the 2 to pit here. Lee, look like that car is screaming with how tight it is getting on some of these corners. Lee has lost touch with the draft possibly.
And do you see WIP driver come in now that the lead stretched out a little bit? No.
Nope. Gonna go as far as possible. Set themselves up for a couple second pit stop possibly. And the number to think about here, Thunk was 45 seconds in the lane when they took a 21-second pit stop. They're 40 seconds behind right now. Lee way in the grass.
I'd have to imagine these pit stops are going to be in the realm of 10 seconds, 8 seconds in that area. I don't think Thonk's going to have enough to get there. Breakfast Club is in the pit lane.
That puts them at 17 laps for their distance to get themselves to the end. Under 10 minutes to go here from Sebring. And for Thunk, they do have traffic like Beaver Moose to battle with on the racetrack. So they have to get this done pretty quickly. They also have some of the GRA 6s up the road. Beaver Moose expected to peel down pretty soon also. It'd be a very tough ask for them to stretch it on the fuel markers here. As you see Axis Experience hug the inside a little.
Yeah, Thonk's going to probably lose time through this section behind Beaver Moose. They chase down Hale Satin.
They've lost half a second already from it.
Every moment is going to matter here. Solar is in.
Clips, who look to be the contenders for the AM lead early on, spiral downward in a couple of portions of the night. That handed things basically over to Royalty, who have Breakfast Club on their bumpers late as well. Some of the M2s also battle out. Side by side with Croc trying to hold off Sunday GT Turtles. Pit stop time for the leaders though. Behind them in the lane, Car 88, WIP Racing, money stop.
Saran is going to stay out. This is where Preston Lee has to put together the best in-lap of his life if he's going to get this race win. Weenie Hut's in as well.
They're a fair bit behind though. Weenie Hut not likely in the
Solar,
conversation.
Black Flag, and Locos cracked. Big issues here.
Car looks like it was pretty broken. Croc was right behind him.
Ooh, put into the fence. One more time here. Yeah, just contact. Big hit.
Dunk no longer in the conversation for the lead. You know who is in that net lead now is Shink. 31.9 seconds up on the gap, or rather down on the gap to Preston Lee. It is 9 seconds the gap between them and the 26 for that step of the podium. Lee expected to come this time by. Keep in mind, it was a 6-second delta in the lane for Shink when he came down.
And this is going to be tight, to say the least. The gap was 1.2-ish seconds when WIP Racing brought it down the pit lane. That was the lead over SRN Esports Gold. Should see Preston Lee hit pit road this time. Bye.
There we go. He's already going for a little left and coast, trying to get as much as he can through the corner. There's the duck in. Charge hard to the pit cone. No issues on entry. Now we watch where the 88 is going to be. You can see them how to work through some traffic down the straightaway. Up the Omen straight they go. Lee still yet to get in his box for reference as he works his way through Sunset for the 88 car. See that stopwatch popping up right now. No change in tires for Lee. Lee just finished tires, the 88. Bit of an up and down corner.
Here comes Esteran out of pit road.
Lee's coming out of the cones.
You can see him. There he goes, entering the racetrack.
Preston Lee's got the advantage. He's able to hold on by more than 3 seconds with an 8-second pit stop.
5.5 minutes to go.
And the gap is right in Preston Lee's hands here. The manufacturer change shook up the standings for their sake. They've been on a hot streak since. And now they're minutes away from glory, trying to add to what was a 20-point outing last time out.
And don't look now. Texas Speed Sim Racing Blue is knocking on the door of a potential podium if they can stretch it to the end of this one.
Yeah, it's going to be tough right now for Matt Best, to put it politely, here in his spot. 16 laps of the fuel might make it.
And
Look
guess
at
what,
this,
JP?
though.
They're back.
Yeah. I was about to say, Huge Jazz has closed the gap in. Here's the problem, Morgan. Passes on the track have been hard in this class. What do you do if you're Giovanni to make the first on-track pass for the lead on the day?
I mean, you just load on the pressure. Any trick you've got in the book, whether it's moving out in the braking zone, whether it's trying to change your entry speed or change your center of the corner speed, change if the exit is good, or whatever you can do to just put a little bit of confusion in the mind of the wrong stuff. That's all you can really do, short of taking matters into your own hands, which I don't think that's something we're going to see here today. But if you get an opportunity, you cannot be letting it go, because there's not a lot of time left.
Yeah, less than 4 minutes to go. We're talking estimated maybe 2 laps to go here for your GT4 Pro leader. Right now, Romano on the pace last time through was 6/10 quicker than Michael Brooks. And that's with more fuel in the tank and him also having the 4-lap overcut initially on the stops. Just not able to dig too much, though. This is the tough part. Getting the gap to close from this point seems to have been extremely treacherous today. And I don't mean treacherous like dangerous. I mean treacherous as in it's been a tightrope of once you get to this point of the range, it's almost like the car just doesn't want to close up.
Yeah, some dirty air effects clearly taking place inside that half-second mark in these M2s. You can get right there, but just can't quite do anything about it. We got a great battle just a little further behind them as well. These three going at it for 6th, 7th, and 8th overall in the race.
Ham leaders in this battle too.
And Royalty Racing, Breakfast Club. How about Breakfast Club? How about just an awful start to this one, and they could potentially come away with the AM win.
Look to the inside. Couldn't get the angle, though. Richard Danilewski still looking for another opportunity with a couple minutes to go. Right now, the field counting the time on the board. We're under 2 minutes on the clock. They'll be waiting to see what Barney has to say for them when they come across the flag stand. Remember, the leader has to see the white flag for us to get that mark. Matt Best is still on fumes and looking for a podium.
What a great rebound this would be again. He's able to do it.
It's going to be difficult to make the pass, especially since it's white flag is out. Final time around from Sebring. Right now, Preston Lee maintaining the gap, in fact, growing the gap. It's been an eventful day. SRN started off with a pace before the competition caution. Took a little bit, but here they are in the right spot.
Yeah, Preston Lee has been one of, if not the fastest car pretty much all day. Him and WIP, Francois Schenck, have been battling it out for basically the entirety of this race, and they have shown a lot of speed. As here we go, we got a fight for the M2s.
Side by side, Romano trying to get the outside to work to 3. Michael Brooks trying to hug the inside. Here Jazz claws their way ahead. Brooks now on the bumper, trying to find a way to get them loose. Don't get the lead back. Right now, your AM leader's also cutting ahead. Breakfast was in that battle with the advantage.
Black flag for Royalty Racing.
There goes their race, just like that. Breakfast, with a recovery from running out of fuel during the safety car, now has that class lead with a couple moments to go.
Final set of corners. Restaurant Esports Gold to claim their first win of the season. All they got to do is get through Sunset without any drama.
Last time out, they had the speed, but it was chaos in turn one multiple times over from the SRN Esports Gold car. Tonight, they are able to withstand the drama. They're able to withstand the strategy. They're able to withstand some rain. And now they're able to strand together a victory at Sebring. Preston Lee gets the car a win. The cars around the track look to close Breakfast. In the AM lead, Royalty Racing picking up penalties late. What a recovery from car 127.
The battle for the M2s, it's not over yet either. We're going to have one final shot at it.
Will Michael Brooks send it up the inside? He's a little far back.
That's all you can do here.
Missed the bottom. Trying to get there. No. Michael Brooks loses traction. Ambulance win goes the way of Breakfast, while the M2s, Hugh Jazz, is able to get the victory up in front.
And Baltimore already got the win for the GR86s. What a race.
What a finish for a couple of these battles here. A couple teams already going the tow truck. It's going to be a little bit until everyone crosses the line, but it's already celebration time for Preston Lee. Better not get himself disqualified by accident here.
Saw that a couple weeks ago in a race at Coda. Driver started doing burnouts before everyone across the finish line, got disqualified. Don't want to do that here today. This should be the last car, I believe. A few more left.
Yep, Clips, Smooth Operators. Didn't get the greatest of finishes. GT Turtles still on the track. These are your last cars right here for what was... It started off as a bit of a wild one in the mid-pack in M2. Then calmed down, got wild again. Strategy became the talk of the town here in Sebring, Florida. What I'm saying here, Morgan, is that hotel is going to be very packed with conversations after today up in that cafe.
I bet it will be. What a race, what a finish. And here is how it finished.
Those results coming on through here. Unofficially, Preston Lee gets the win by 5 seconds even over Shank. Agostino in the top three with Best in fourth. Did not get on the podium, but did make it on gas. Town for Weenie Hunt gets the top five. Lauzon for B4D in sixth. Then the AM win. Look at that gap. It's significant for the 127. Breakfast Club Racing in the end because of the black flag late for their competitors. Able to get a spot pushing them to positions. Brooks, Glenn, and Axis experience their cars ahead of Spiker when it comes to the top 10 overall, Morgan.
Absolutely. The final drivers in class. Stephen Kelly in the 191. That's for Big Promble. Royalty Racing right behind them, obviously with the black flag at the end of the race. Eclipse Racing Solar looked good at the start, did not end nearly as well. They'll finish in the 13th spot. Ball Crushing Industries, they had a tough start to the race and it never really got better for them. They will finish 14th overall. Gear 5 will end up finishing 30th overall, 15th in class. Alpha Trout, obviously Zachary Bowman, a couple of spins in that complex section, 31st overall. 16th in class. And V8 Vengeance never did start the race today. They will finish last in this one.
We also throw in the mix the M2s. Had a conversation half on some of their battles here today. Hugh Jazz is the one who comes up on top. 5/10 of a second, should say, over to the Ron Stuff. Middle of the pack got a top 3. Big separation to the rest of the field in the very end with some of the strategies. Phillips and Cochran for their respective teams, 4th and 5th. Sunday GT Turtles got 6th in the last of the lead lap. Mitchell got lapped as well as Michael Newman for North Sports. They were in contention for the podium in the first 30-40 minutes. Glenn Brannon finished off in 9th for Virginia Ridge Runners. Scuderia Los Locos drops down to 10th late in that one. Those were the only 10 cars in that class as well. Remember, we also had Rockefeller Racing green technically, but they are well down the order, 11 laps down to the leaders, 9 to the nearest class member.
And finally, the Toyota GR86's Ballymore going to take the win in this light class today. Caboose Crew 6 seconds off the pace. Then at 3rd spot, rounding up that podium, Razor Racing. SCEL Tigom 1 will finish in 4th, and Hale Satin with a surprising 5th place finish. They were up battling for the win at points in this one. Did not end up going their way. They will finish shotgun on the class.
Well, top to bottom about the runner you heard tonight on your unofficial race results after what was another one where strategy was a talking point. Some of the drivers lining up to speak with us here. We have most of those drivers now joining through. Preston Lee, the lawnmower. Clipped a little bit of grass tonight, but you still get the strategy to go your way. How does it feel to get this car into victory lane?
Great to get the car back on victory lane. You know, the start of the season with the Porsche is pretty rough, but you know, took the hit with the points penalty for swapping manufacturers, and BMW's been working out great. Didn't have the best qualifying, but definitely held up in the race, and strategy played a huge part. I'm not the best at it, but I managed to get it right, I guess.
Was there a learning curve to this car after what we've seen with the wild starts into turn 1 last time out for your team to what we've seen this time out at Sebring?
Yeah, cold tires on this car are a lot more dangerous on the rear end. I think that's what my teammate Kyle ran into at Road America. But in terms of getting used to the car, I felt right at home when I got in the car at Road Atlanta for my second half of the race, and felt just like it here. Unfortunately, Kyle couldn't make the race, but I'm sure he was watching.
So with this day today, a lot of points picked up in theory as a result of this one. So now what's the game plan the rest of the season? Because championship is going to require a perfect run, to put it simply, to have a chance. How far do you think this car can get in the standings?
Can't put an exact position on it, but we'll definitely do our best to maximize the points, and you know, any opportunities that come our way through any faults of our competitors, maybe we can gain a couple positions there. I think the overall championship's a bit of a stretch, but we'll definitely try our best.
Anyone you want to give a shout out here to tonight?
Yeah, huge shout out to Race to Approval and Race Ready 3D, our SRN sponsors. They're great. They help us with the team, and you know, us as a team, I wouldn't be able to do these races and still have the pace. I'm only part-time racing here most of the time at university, so not in the rig. But with the guys around me, help me get up to pace, and can't thank them enough.
Oh, one more thing. Make sure Kyle practices for his stuff tomorrow, because I'm pretty sure he watched the finish more than the practice, he said, watching one with the broadcast. Good luck with that tomorrow. Good luck next time out.
Thank you.
Preston Lee taking his car to victory lane here today. We talked about some drama for the 127 tonight. Breakfast. You talk about them. They were amongst some of the drivers in the back of the field early on. They were amongst the drivers that ran out of gas during the caution period with some of the wave arounds for a couple laps. They still win the M class. They're with Morgan.
Got to copy Blake. I'm sorry, Richard. Whoever is in here. Apologies.
Blake.
Trying to do double duty here. But
you're all good, Morgan. Yeah, you've got Blake here in the booth.
My goodness, Blake. What a race you guys had. Ran out of fuel. As we mentioned on the on that competition yellow, just a slight miscalculation with the number of wave around laps, and you fight through, you persevere, and you end up in a position to win the AM class. How'd you do it?
I think at this point it's well known that our secret weapon is the guy that ended up bringing the car over the finish line. Richard with an absolute blinder of a second half of that race. Um, Anything I would throw at him, he just handled in stride. If we wanted to hit a fuel number, he's like, I can do that. If we're trying to chase down the 116 ahead of us, we're taking tenths out of them, um, and going through traffic. So I I was telling him in our call, I really tried to dig us a hole, and he did an excellent job of pulling us out of it.
Well, that's why you have teammates, right? Is when one makes a mistake, one is able to lift them up and get it done. But regardless, the teamwork together with the strategy on your side and the driving on his side clearly was a great match. And seventh overall, still a great run, regardless that it's not top of the sheet overall. But was there anything you could have done with the strategy, do you think, to even gain more spots in the overall running order?
So there were a couple of things we could have done. The first one is not run out of gas under safety car. That cost us about 3 minutes in a tow. It's under safety car, so you don't feel the full brunt of that time penalty, but definitely played a factor. And then even at the start of the race, I had an issue where I couldn't pull off the grid because my pedals just gave out. Had to start from pit lane, and we ended up 40 seconds behind the field through that whole issue. So, um, strategy wise, do the little things right. I think without looking at the results, P5 may have been on the cards if we got all of those issues taken care of. But regardless, to go from running on E over the safety car to top step of the podium for the AM class, you're gonna have a hard time finding ways that I'm upset today. So
Yeah, understood about that. Well, we got you up here with the M class win. Who do you want to thank? Who do you want to shout out?
I already shouted out Richard. There is simply no way to say too much about what he did today. Um, Making the right calls, aggressive when he needed to be, understood what we were trying to accomplish. That was excellent. And then, of course, everybody who puts on this show with SRN and SCEL. Um, we love running in this league. It's so fun. Um, I can be a little bit mouthy at times, but it is it's one of those environments where it brings out the best in individuals, and you really start thinking, oh, I really have to be on top of my game, and you don't get that in every single league. So we love running here, with Sim Racing Nation and SCEL, and then obviously everybody over at the Breakfast Club. um, Man, those guys are just so smart. They understand sim racing so much more than I do, and they're able to help us put into practice some of the strategies that we want to implement. Um, so yeah, everybody that hangs out over in the Breakfast Club Discord server, they get a shout out every time we're successful.
Awesome. Well, it takes a team to make a car fast and a driver fast on the racetrack, and you were tonight. Congratulations. Break Fast Club Racing on the AM win here at Sebring. Thanks for your time.
Thanks, Morgan.
Blake Brazour coming away with his team up at the top step of the AM podium here today. Let's transition over to the M2s where we talked about the conversation between two teams. Hugh Jansen, the run stuff. HJ is the one that comes out on top. Giovanni Romano was the driver of that car here today. And Giovanni, first things first, talk to us about the efforts to try and chip away and get yourself the class win after what was a two-horse race much of the day.
Yeah, that entire battle stemmed back to the caution where I decided to stay out and Michael decided to pit and top off on fuel, and I was hoping that the track position I had would give me a little buffer and would play out over the fuel, and it completely backfired on me because I just got basically bullied by all the GT4s and had the M2s right on my back pretty much immediately. So at that point, I knew I was lower on fuel than everyone else, so I knew I was going to get jumped into stops by Michael. So I decided to just take 4 tires on the last stop because I figured the only way I'd be able to get back to him and pass him is if I had some kind of advantage. So I took 4 and kind of just chipped away in the last stint, and I got, I think, really fortunate with the GT4 traffic. I think Michael uh, had some bad luck there with that. He lost some time and allowed me to get right up on his rear. And then at that point, I think the tire advantage was the difference maker. I was able to hang it around the outside at turn 1. That never would have worked unless I had fresher tires in them. And credit to Michael for leaving me just enough space to go wide. I think a lot of people would have just probably doored me and pushed me off. So props to him for leaving me room, and it made for a great battle.
It definitely did make for a great battle here today in the midst of this here as well. You mentioned the challenges when it comes to traffic management in the course of a race like this. Kind of in terms of that approach, what's kind of the mindset when you know you aren't the fastest class? And at one point on that restart, you were the lead car and had to immediately deal with being the car people want to zoom by.
Yeah, the restart was rough. There was nothing I could do there. That was I was hoping I could build a little bit of buffer with the GT4s behind me, but they all just blew right by me due to the power advantage, and then so that didn't work out. But in general, I was just trying to place my car in a way where I wouldn't end up with them going too wide with me, a GT4 going too wide with me in the corners, because the speed differentials, particularly in the streets, the slow corners, is identical between the M2 and the GT4s. So you really do not want to go too wide at all costs. So it's either let them go before the corner or just place your car a little bit defensively to kind of encourage them to stay behind for the corner and pass you on the exit. And that's what I focused on doing in that last stint, and a little bit of luck as well, and helped me gain time. So yeah, traffic management, big part of these races. I can't leave out the 8.6s as well. That was, well, there's not too many of them, but with them, it was really just kind of the same thing. Just got to pass them on the straights because they're very fast in the corners. So you don't want to be duking it out with them side by side.
Now, I want your take on this because next race could be even more trickier when it comes to passing. We've seen how difficult it was tonight for some. How do you feel about the streets of Long Beach with this style of racing?
Oh, yeah, I saw that. I looked ahead on the schedule, saw that, and I'm like, that's just rough, and just in terms of endurance, it's a very challenging track. You don't really get much of a break, and yeah, like you said as well, the traffic is going to be a huge factor there. It's tight, narrow street circuit, and we're just gonna have to cope with it. Well, we'll see. It's definitely be a unique challenge. Maybe I'll learn a little something by enduring through something like that. So we'll see how it goes.
Anyone you want to give a shout out to here tonight?
Yeah, shout out to the league. Thanks to Jason for admitting everything and guiding us through the cautions and pre-race briefing and all that. So he does a great job. And to the broadcast for just it's fun to watch back. So thanks for putting it on.
Congratulations on the run here tonight, Giovanni.
Thank you.
Giovanni Romano coming away with a win tonight in the M2 class here this evening. One other class to speak with, Robert Nobles. Ended up making the right call, Ballymore Racing to victory lane. Robert is with Morgan.
Robert, Morgan, and JP up in the booth. You got a copy.
Hey.
Well, we didn't talk much about you, even though you only had a 5-car class here tonight. We didn't really have this car pegged as one that we thought was going to end up in victory lane in class, and it wasn't really until this last stint when you started to creep a little farther towards the front of your class, and all of a sudden after that last pit stop, you cycled in front, and we thought, oh, Caboose Crew, they'll get it back on the pit sequence. Well, they didn't. You end up with a 6-second victory for the margin. How did you end up cycling in front of them? What was the pit call? And yeah, how'd you hold them off?
Yeah, that's all down to my teammate John. He just was a genius with the strategy. So we just pitted just before the pits closed before the safety car, and that brought us up a couple places, and then stayed with Kevin, and just worked with him to keep pace, and then they cycled through, and I decided to go a little bit longer on the keep the car a little bit lighter, and yeah, and it worked out. Worked out.
Yes.
Um,
Go ahead.
yeah, I mean, we haven't had that best of luck in this league all season long, and we finally put a full race together. You know.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And you mentioned something interesting about working with Kevin. I'm assuming that's Razor Racing Kevin Nunn.
Yeah.
How important is it? I don't think we stress it enough on the broadcast. How important is it to work with another GR86 throughout these races, especially with these long straightaways?
Uh, it's it's the meaning of winning or losing. Honestly, these cars are momentum cars, and if you lose a draft, and you're you're a sitting duck.
That definitely clarifies a little bit for us just how the different classes drive differently, and also being that you are obviously in the slowest class, the 86s. How difficult is it as a driver knowing that you need to try and stay with your other 86 partners or other 86 competitors to keep that draft while you have faster class cars weaving in and out trying to get around you guys?
Oh yeah, they they definitely didn't make it easy, you know, but it's just kind of maintaining your lane, and just seeing where the other guy is going, and paying attention to the mirrors for sure. It was nice to have my teammate in my ear, just kind of giving me a heads up of where they're coming from and what side to stay on, so as to not hold anybody up. But yeah, I would say it's definitely threw a wrench in the cogs.
Yeah, I imagine that. I've only done endurance racing where I've been either an equal class or the fast class. So yeah, I've no idea how to get out of the way of other drivers. So good on you for figuring that out and doing it with grace and success as you end up obviously picking up the win in class. And we look ahead a month from now to Long Beach. And what do you think about that facility and racing in a endurance style race with fenders on a racetrack with walls that are very tight all around that facility?
You know, I want to really race that with the single class races. Multi class is going to be quite interesting, seeing the GT4s and the M2s, you know, manage traffic in such a tight and bumpy track. I think a lot of people forget exactly how bumpy Long Beach is. So
Yeah, it'll be a fun one month from now. And final question for you. Who do you have to thank? Who do you have to shout out for the win in the GR86 class?
Uh, First of all, shout out to Mr. Landry for putting on this league. Shout out to Sim Racing Nation, the whole organization, the John, my teammate, and Ballymore Racing. Uh, yeah, and then shout out to you guys for putting on such a great broadcast.
Awesome. Thank you for your time, Robert. Congratulations on the GR86 class win. Baltimore Racing, top of the sheet at Sebring.
Thank you very much.
So nicely done by our race winners tonight. I'd like to thank everyone for taking time to speak with us during post-race coverage here on V-Speed. Your final thoughts on tonight over the course of this one, Morgan, as the SCEL definitely had an interesting one, and we'll have a tough one at Long Beach next time.
Absolutely. First half of the race, or first 50 or so minutes of the race, calm, cool, and collected. The final part of the race, action-packed, I think is the only way to put it. Great race tonight, as we come to expect from this series. And Long Beach is going to be wild. I am exceedingly curious to what that's going to look like in a month from today.
I'm extremely curious about how things are going to go as well. It's going to be a wild stretch of races to close things out for the course of the campaign. But it's just about time to say goodbye for tonight's coverage for the SCEL brought to you by SRN Sim Racing Nation. Long Beach will be on April the 10th. Keep that in mind on your schedules. Be sure to tune in, as that will be, usually we've seen at the start of the first Mondays. We'll have that second date on that month. But for our camera producer, Dougie Beard, for my co-announcer and producer, Morgan Cook, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching the SCEL here on VSB.